times. Congratulations to Mr. 303 for winning item number 23. Additionally, we have just received news that the funds have indeed arrived. Let's congratulate Mr. 303 once again. After bowing, Oriole spoke again. Now, let us welcome item number 24, a military-grade humanoid mech. Everyone's heart skipped a beat again. Today, these wonderful items are being thrown out vigorously, creating a mix of joy and worry. The joy comes from seeing the most advanced mechs that are rarely seen, while the worry stems from being unable to secure these treasures due to insufficient funds. Of course, there are also plenty of those with ample funds. So after more great items are thrown into the black market, a new round of bidding wars begins. Father, are we just giving up like this? Young Cook said resentfully, his tone filled with unwillingness. What can we do? After all, this is an auction. The highest bidder wins. Old Cook seemed unhurried, maintaining a calm tone. What about grandfather? Are we just going to watch him die? Unable to contain his emotions any longer, Young Cook shouted. Does the Cook family really think we're pushovers? I want that kid to taste. Shut up. Old Cook yelled, his voice icy cold. I understand. The long-standing authority made Young Cook flinch, and he involuntarily nodded in agreement. All right, since we didn't win the star map, staying here is pointless. Let's head back. Old Cook stood up and strode out of the room. Excuse me, we have matters to attend to and need to leave first. All right, sir, please follow me. The black market staff at the door bowed and led the two out of the black market. Captain, the two individuals from Group 1 have already left, and the nanobots continue to follow. After swallowing a mouthful of pulp, Nova glanced at Dongfang, who was eagerly watching the display. Well done. One must always be cautious. Who else has just left the auction site? Dongfang still didn't turn around, looking at the mechas that were constantly running and jumping on the screen, casually asked. Nova's eyes darted around. Although she hadn't paid attention just now, it was no challenge for her. Groups 1, 9, 6, and also 200, 501, 199, 297. A total of 31 people have left, while the others remain in their rooms. Quite a few, but I wonder who besides Group 1 might be the enemies? Dongfang chuckled softly, once again directing his gaze toward Oriole. Aren't we leaving? No, we'll wait a bit. After 3 rounds, we can leave with everyone. You should back up the contents of this thing and then delete it. Dongfang chuckled, casually taking a storage device from the box just delivered by the black market personnel and tossed it to Nova. Then he took out a pass from inside, admired it for a moment, and stored it in his small bag, kicking the empty box away. Captain, for this operation, we dispatched 100 airships, 30 B-class mechas, and 200 light mechas. I believe that kid will find it hard to escape. A ship was hovering at an altitude of 10,000 meters above the black market base. And at this moment, a large screen was reporting the situation to the captain. Very good, but we still need to pay attention to the detectors above. We must keep the stealth system running at full capacity and absolutely cannot expose the ship's trajectory. Understood, Captain. However, this means we won't be able to activate our detection radar. No worries, this is just a precaution. Detectors rarely pass over the black market, and there aren't many ships passing through here, so you can rest assured. Once that ship leaves the black market area, immediately. Understood. Not far from the ship, a smaller airship was hidden among the clouds, almost indistinguishable from them. In the cockpit of the ship, 2 blue-skinned individuals in light mechas were conversing. Brother, do you think it's useful for us to come here? The Cook family has declined in recent years, but a dead camel is still bigger than a horse. Do we really have a chance against their targets? A rugged-looking man stroked his chin and said, Second brother, you don't understand. We're just here to take a look. If there's no opportunity, so be it. But if there is a chance, we brothers can make a fortune, right? However, even if there is an opportunity, you must not get excited and must follow my instructions, understood? Hey, I'll listen to you. I want to be impulsive this time. The big man chuckled, his eyes full of anticipation. Chapter 39 hit. Dear guests, tonight's auction items have all concluded. Thank you for your strong support. The black market will do its utmost to gather more fine goods and provide you with better services. Well then, goodbye, everyone. Looking forward to our next meeting. Oriole knocked the auction hammer and bowed slightly before slowly exiting the auction hall. Captain, shall we go? Nova asked, having just finished the fruits on the table. After pondering for a few seconds, Dongfang replied, No rush. With so many people here, isn't it better for us to blend in among them? Understood. With 500 private rooms, each accommodating at least 1 person, and often more, the number of people leaving together was indeed considerable. At this moment, 3 individuals wrapped tightly in black robes emerged from room 5. As soon as they stepped out, they immediately quickened their pace towards the helipad. I didn't expect that even the powerful Cook Consortium couldn't acquire the star map of the 4th level civilization. This is quite surprising. One of them said in a low voice to his companions, seemingly afraid of being overheard, yet unable to suppress his excitement, causing his voice to tremble unnaturally. This was somewhat expected. Old Cook is on his last legs, which is common knowledge. Those with foresight must have been prepared. Being intercepted just shows their preparations were insufficient. Young Cook is still far behind. The leader sighed. Brother, if it weren't for our collaboration with the Sohaili and your Kisna families for the Shingen Star. Oh, the world is unpredictable. I'm already content with having this habitable planet. Alright, let us get moving. This isn't the place for such discussions. The other two in black nodded in agreement and quickened their steps again. Captain, it turns out that Shingen Star was purchased through a consortium, Nova remarked. I wondered where they got so many credit points. Just as they left, Dongfeng led Nova around the corner of the passage. Well, that's normal. Only with more substantial financial investment can an original planet be developed quickly. Relying on just one entity is still somewhat weak. However, they just mentioned that Old Cook is in urgent need of treatment. This means we need to stay vigilant and be cautious of their desperate moves. Dongfeng nodded and slowly walked forward. The Ghost unmanned reconnaissance aircraft has been deployed, and I believe we will receive feedback soon. However, our ship is merely a casually purchased civilian airship, and its defensive capabilities are rather poor. If they bring battleships or large mechs, we could be at a disadvantage. If only we had a pass. Nova frowned, worried about Dongfeng. After all, he was still flesh and blood. Even with nanosuit armor and an energy shield, he wouldn't withstand a hit from a battleship's energy cannon. After all, a third-level civilization has mastered the application of energy to a great extent. Nova, as the ancient strategy says, when weak, appear strong. When strong, appear weak. Why should we take that ship? Dongfeng chuckled, reaching out to tap Nova's forehead. Let the ship go ahead to scout the path. We should see what the Cook Consortium intends to do. How do we leave? Our spaceship is still docked. And if we suddenly disappear, it will definitely attract the attention of the dock management. There are plenty of airships in the black market. We can just buy one. If the enemy's firepower is strong, we can avoid confrontation for now and plan later. Let us take this opportunity to explore the black market. We didn't get a chance to look around last time, and were too busy with other things. As expected, after the auction, the airspace above Base 3 of the black market was bustling. Unmarked spaceships were rising from the snow-capped mountains and scattering in all directions. They were completely unaware that someone was quietly observing them from 10,000 meters above. Father, according to information from the black market, the people in room 303 are aboard this silver-white feather-type sightseeing spaceship. Let us follow them. Just as they finished speaking, 3 combat airships flew out from behind the spaceship, speeding towards the direction the sightseeing ship had taken. Brother, the Cook Consortium's ship is moving. From within the clouds, a small airship let out a sinister laugh. No rush. Didn't you see that command ship still hiding and not moving? In the distance, a more menacing warship revealed its form. In addition, the top of the spaceship was equipped with 2 thick cannons, and the hull was covered with gun barrels, armed to the teeth. As the warship slightly swayed, arcs of electricity flickered outside the gun barrels, indicating that all weapons were in a ready state. However, what caught the eye the most was the painting on the top of the spaceship, 2 crossed curved blades. If a transport ship captain accustomed to traversing the starry seas appeared here, they would instantly recognize this as the notorious Blade Star pirates. But how did they avoid the constant patrols of the Third Fleet outside the planet? Due to its high speed, the silver feather-type sightseeing spaceship continuously produced intense sonic booms in the air. A white umbrella-shaped mist surrounded it, quickly being left behind, creating a stunning sight. Look, how is this spaceship flying so fast? The airships can barely keep up. Behind the silver spaceship, 3 airships were desperately chasing. This is a feather-type sightseeing spaceship, known for its speed, with a value of at least 20 million credit points. If it doesn't run fast, who would buy it? Alright, stop chatting. We are about to exit the coverage area of the black market disruptor. Prepare the energy cannon and fire a shot. Let us see how it can escape. Yes. Locking completed, energy cannon fully charged and ready to fire. Just as the two finished their conversation, someone in the cabin reported loudly. 1 minute to firing. We haven't completely left the black market range. Understood. We will fire the energy cannon after the countdown of 60 seconds. All units prepare. Activate dynamic locking detectors. 605, 9, 3, 2, 1, fire. With the command from the gunner, a cannon barrel as thick as a bowl on top of the airship flashed with light. The energy beam shot silently towards the silver spaceship like an arrow released from a bow. In the blink of an eye, the light beam caught up with the feather-type ship and precisely struck its tail. As the explosion sounded, flashes of fire flickered within the hull of the ship, and a massive cloud of smoke billowed into the sky as the craft wobbled and began to descend towards the ground. At the same time, cheers erupted from within the airship. A chaotic crowd, still without their star maps, was overly excited. Get ready for close combat upon landing. A burly man in light mech suit quickly stood up, frowning at the celebrating crew members. Chapter 40. Where is the sincerity? Captain, someone is indeed stirring up trouble. Standing in the modified vehicle shop, Nova reached out to touch the polished high-power vehicle and connected with the communications to the east. Well, as the saying goes, gold belt for killing and arson, no remains for building roads and bridges. Our sightseeing airship is just a little fat sheep in their eyes. It's no surprise they want to take a bite. On the other side of the vehicle, the Eastern representative opened the door and sat inside, seemingly enchanted by the luxurious interior of the vehicle. Not bad. How many credit points is this? He then opened his eyes and turned to ask the salesperson beside him. Very affordable. Only 300,000 credit points. And you can own this vehicle that can reach a flying speed of 10 Mach. Not too expensive, but can it be used normally? Such a high-power vehicle is banned from flying in the city. It seems this esteemed guest is visiting our vehicle shop for the first time and isn't familiar with us. Looks like we have a fat sheep here. The salesperson thought happily and continued. We not only sell vehicles, but also provide service for handling paperwork. Just pay an additional 50,000 credit points. And we can take care of all the vehicle registration for you, ensuring you can soar through the city in your new ride. Captain, the ship has been hit and is in a forced landing. Oh, that was quick. After finishing his thoughts, the Eastern representative pushed the door open and stepped out. Great vehicle, I'll buy it. Just wondering how long it takes to process the paperwork. If it's too slow, I want to take it. Very fast. Just half an hour. We only need to input your information into the traffic management system. This is our specialty. Please wait in the customer area. The salesperson extended a hand in a black cloak, guiding the two to a corner of the hall, serving them drinks, and then hurried off to handle the paperwork. Meanwhile, the Eastern representative and Nova made themselves comfortable on a sofa, exchanged glances, and both closed their eyes. Warning, warning, the ship's power compartment is damaged. The left engine has been destroyed, and we are in a forced landing. All crew members, please proceed to the escape pod immediately and leave the ship. Repeat. Just as he connected with the nanobots, the Eastern representative felt a dizzying spin, with warning sounds ringing in his ears. The ship was still losing speed and spinning rapidly. Inside the cabin, chaos ensued as various items flew about, occasionally hitting the nanobots. Captain, hurry up, we should change locations. Just as the Eastern representative reached out to block a flying shard of glass, Nova had already made it to the cockpit exit and turned back to wave at him. Coming. The nanorobot lightly pushed off the ground and immediately soared into the air, quickly following behind the robot controlled by Nova and entering the escape pod. Moments later, two lifeboats shot out from the belly of the spacecraft, rapidly moving away to the sides. Pay attention to the landing site of the escape pod. Don't just keep staring at the spacecraft, said a burly man in the lifeboat, glancing at the large screen before turning to the pilot. It's already locked on, boss. The burly man nodded, frowning as he turned around. Under his gaze, the crew members who were still celebrating awkwardly released their colleagues, quickly donning their lightweight mechas while rushing towards the exit of the cabin. Everyone, line up properly. How can anyone get out in such a crush? All that training has gone down the drain. What's going on? Seeing the crew members jumbled together like headless flies, the burly man cursed and chased down the last person, kicking him hard. Even so, he was still not satisfied, cursing as he caught up with a few more, giving them a similar greeting on their backsides. At this point, the crew seemed to find their direction, lining up in order as they had trained and checking their weapons. The burly man nodded and shouted again. First and second teams, as the vanguard, move quickly towards the target once you land. If anyone exits the ship, immediately apprehend them. Fourth and fifth teams, head to the crash site to prevent any fish slipping through the net. Do not stray far, maintain defense over the crash site. And don't let anyone take advantage. Yes. Just then, a loud explosion echoed, and flames shot into the sky. Following that, one lifeboat broke formation and flew towards the massive fireball, while the remaining two turned towards the escape pod. After detaching from the spacecraft, the escape pod immediately slowed down and found a flat ice surface, landing gently on it. The lifeboats, clearly faster, appeared above the escape pod just as it came to a stop. A tractor beam shot out, sending over 20 lightweight mechas to the edge of the melting water around the escape pod. As soon as they landed on the ice, the mechas quickly spread out, surrounding the escape pod in a tight formation. After waiting for 2 full minutes and seeing no changes in the escape pod, the lead mecha finally spoke. Open the pod. Don't suffocate them in there. 2 mechas broke away from the formation, slowly floating to the edge of the pod and gently touching the exterior of the spacecraft. With a hissing sound, the armor on the top of the escape pod opened up, revealing the people inside. Everyone come out. A group of bewildered passengers emerged, confusion crossing their minds. This was a bit unusual. If they dared to come for the star map, did they really bring such a group of service personnel with them? Was this person a fool? Please, good sir, don't take our lives. Take whatever you want. At that moment, a fawning voice from the escape pod interrupted his thoughts. You'll give us everything. In the crowd, someone laughed loudly. Did this young lady or madam also join in? You, in the lifeboat, suddenly stood up, your chest heaving violently, as if deeply insulted. Don't go too far. If it comes to it, we can part ways. Then he picked up an explosive device from his seat and tied it to the star map. Don't rush. We only seek wealth, not to harm anyone. The leader was startled and immediately waved his hand, then turned to scold his subordinates behind him. Can you shut up? Where does all this nonsense come from? Sir, as long as you throw out the star map, we'll turn around and leave without further ado. How can I trust you? Right now we are surrounded, and as soon as the star map is out of our hands, I'm afraid what awaits us will be your laser guns. No way, we keep our word. Please believe us. The burly man chuckled, but his eyes were fixed firmly on the storage device. Then show your sincerity. The young man remained unmoved, tightly gripping his weapon, displaying a look that suggested he would activate it the moment anyone dared to approach. Chapter 41. Chaos and Battle Captain. You truly excel. Your fearless performance is simply remarkable. Of course, after all, I have received professional training. In their secret channel, Dongfang replied proudly. Look at this kid. I've tricked him so much that he can't even find his way back. By the way, Xiaoyu, pay attention to your expression. How can you look like you're enjoying a show? You need to be scared. Understand? No, that's still too fake. You are reveling in our misfortune. Forget it. Do as you please. After seeing the robot beside him display a gloating expression, Dongfang painfully covered his eyes. So how do you want us to show our sincerity? Withdraw 1 kilometer, and once my rescue ship arrives, I'll give you the star map. During the waiting period, you must ensure our safety. Kid, you're dreaming. The leader laughed heartily, putting his hands behind his back and making a fist gesture. Do you think we're fools? I advise you to hand over the star map now. It might save your life. It seems there's nothing to negotiate. Then let us see how it goes. Hercules, what the hell are you doing? Why aren't you making a move? Are your snipers just for show? Just shoot his hand and be done with it. What are you waiting for? Also, unidentified ships are heading your way. Hurry up and act. In the command ship of the Ziyuan class, Little Cook said grimly. He was getting anxious because the moment they just exited the black market jamming range. The detector immediately found 5 ships rushing towards the location where the ship was about to fall at high speed. Sir, we need to act now. The snipers are ready. Hercules gritted his teeth. For the sake of his family and the high salary from the Cook Consortium, he held back and respectfully said, waiting for your good news. Act. Hercules no longer dared to hesitate and immediately shouted. Just as the moment arrived, a laser shot down from the sky with incredible speed, hitting the arm of the individual in midair. A scream echoed as the severed arm flew upwards, landing among the group of light mechs. Hercules felt a surge of joy, and with a powerful stomp on the icy surface, he launched himself like a cannonball towards the floating hand, aiming to catch it before it landed. The idea was good, but unfortunately, he was thwarted at the last moment. Just as he was about to touch the hand, another laser struck him, sending him flying away. Damn it! Hercules shouted angrily, struggling to adjust his position as he rolled and extended his right foot, trying to grab the severed hand. But it was in vain. A thicker laser hit him, sending him flying even further away. Are you all just here to watch? Hercules yelled in frustration as he noticed his subordinates staring blankly at him. Only then did they snap out of it and rush towards the severed hand. At that moment, a loud rumbling sound filled the air. Looking up, Dongfang saw that the airship, which had been floating in midair, had turned into 2 fireballs, trailing black smoke as they crashed towards a nearby snow-capped mountain. The explosion followed, the airship crashing heavily into the mountainside. Wow, there are quite a few of them coming, Dongfang remarked as he watched the menacing battleships rapidly approaching from the horizon. But at that moment, all his attention was on the severed hand, and he couldn't think about anything else. The crowd surged forward, pinning the hand down. Can you all be a bit gentler? What if you damage the storage device? Hercules, who had skidded a long way on the ice, felt another jolt of anxiety and couldn't help but curse again. Stop acting like fools and hurry up with the storage device. The light mechs were in a frenzy, pulling out the one holding the severed hand from the bottom and running towards the direction of another departing airship, perhaps due to the fear of collateral damage. No laser shot at the mech holding the hand this time. However, the comrades nearby weren't so lucky. Lasers rained down, turning the fleeing light mechs into fireballs one after another. The sound of violent explosions echoed through the night sky. Hercules watched with a heart full of anguish. Although he often ordered and scolded these people, the bond built over time was real. He could no longer stand by and decided to run towards the menacing ship, hoping to draw its fire and buy his comrades some time to escape. Suddenly, a thunderous roar came from above the snow mountain, as if the heavens were shaking. The snow mountain, already teetering after being struck by the airship, let out a furious howl. The mountain collapsed, and tons of snow rushed down from the peak, charging towards the crowd below with unstoppable momentum. In that moment, nature displayed its might. The snow mountain is collapsing. Run. Everyone in the field, including the light mechs, noticed the situation. They could no longer afford to protect the star map storage device and immediately turned to flee in the direction away from the snow-capped mountains. Even as the mech's AI continuously issued warnings, they dared not slacken their pace, not even a little. If only they had an extra leg to run faster. Captain, what should we do? Just watch as we get crushed by the snow mountain? Annihilated? Nova approached Dongfang, who was standing expressionlessly by the cabin, admiring the avalanche, and asked with a smile. This won't do. The nanobots are too expensive. We can't waste them. Dongfang turned and smiled, pointing at the menacing warship rapidly retreating into the sky. Once it leaves, we'll set off. The speed of the snow peak was beyond what light mechs could surpass. In just 30 seconds, the leading edge of the snow peak had caught up with everyone, ready to engulf them. All right, enough playing around. Immediately fire the thermal laser. But don't damage the star map storage device. A command was issued from a black-painted light mech aboard the pirate ship. Yes, came the response. As the cannon on top of the ship turned, a fan-shaped laser was instantly activated, firmly blocking the snow peak that was about to engulf the mechs. White smoke rose as the snow was melted into water and then evaporated into steam, shooting skyward. Saved? Chapter 42. Anxious seeing the vast sea of snow firmly blocked by the laser wall, and the path ahead also sealed off by the same wall. Hercules and the others sat down heavily on the ground, gasping for breath. Boss, we might be done for this time. If you manage to escape, don't forget to send the compensation back home. A comrade leaned on his shoulder, saying with a wry smile. Stop with the gloomy talk. If you want to send yourself off, I don't want to see your fierce wife. Where's the fierce wife? That's my gentle and lovely wife. You single dogs must be so envious and jealous. Haha. Roskin, your fierce wife isn't here today. No need to flatter. Even if you do, she can't hear you. Eugene, are you itching for a fight? Roskin slapped the ice surface and stood up abruptly. Are you afraid of me? Can you two just calm down for a moment? What time is it? And you still have the energy for this? What kind of cattle and horses have I brought with me? You must be sent by the heavens to mess with me. Hercules covered his mech visor with both hands in pain. He didn't want to look at these people even for a second. On the command ship, the young cook spoke anxiously. Father, we can't wait any longer. If Hercules and the others get captured on the ship, it will be very difficult to retrieve the star map. After a brief moment of contemplation, the middle-aged man nodded. Go ahead. Andrew, dispatch the B-class humanoid mech squad. Understood. Father. Andrew swung his fist in the air and strode towards the hatch. What are you doing? The middle-aged man shot a cold glance and shouted loudly. Are you afraid you're not going to die fast enough? Want to go deliver a head to the space pirates? I didn't. I just can't stand their arrogance. I want to teach them a lesson. Andrew stammered. Just watch from here. Remember, you are the heir of the family. The middle-aged man glared at his son before turning away and falling silent. Andrew opened his mouth, but dared not speak or step outside. He could only slowly walk back to the bridge and sit quietly beside his father. Hercules, what's your situation? I'm here to provide assistance. Just as Hercules awaited the final judgment, a communication request suddenly came through the encrypted channel of the mechs. Colbert, are you finally willing to move? My brothers and I are about to be done for. Hurry up. The avalanche is about to stop, and the space pirates will send people down soon. Instead of wasting time asking questions, why not speed up? My brothers are waiting for rescue. Forget it, I won't argue with you. We'll be there in a moment. A moment, just a moment. Just as Hercules finished cursing and ended the communication, beams of light began to appear in the sky, followed by a howling sound. And then the sky was illuminated by the brightly shining searchlights of the mechs. They're here. Hercules couldn't contain his excitement and shouted. Boss, is that our mech squad? Andrew asked excitedly as he rushed to his side. What did I just say? When will you learn to control your impatience? Got it. I just need to follow the boss. Andrew replied. You can handle these tricky matters. Boss, there's a B-class mech. Our energy cannons can't lock on. They're too close and moving too fast. So, I've dispatched the mech battalion to prepare for close combat with the Cook family's mechs. Good job. But we only have less than 30 B-class mechs, which may not be enough in terms of numbers. So, inform everyone to strike hard and fast. Catch them off guard. Also, let Carl go retrieve those light mechs first. Let's get the star map. Understood. The hatch of the battleship slowly opened, and 30 mechs surged out, charging towards the direction of the searchlights. Prepare to engage. As soon as Colbert saw the black mechs flying out of the battleship, his heart tightened, and he shouted softly in the communication channel. Although he had over 100 B-class mechs following him, he still sighed secretly upon seeing the more than 30 light spots displayed on the detector. This time, the boss had deployed a full 120 mechs, hopefully. The numerical advantage would bring about a qualitative change. In just a few seconds of Colbert's contemplation, the distance between the two sides mechs had already closed to less than 50 meters. For mechs, a distance of 50 meters is already very dangerous. With just a leap, he could no longer hesitate. He spread his arms and charged towards the oncoming black mech. Clearly, The opposing mech shared the same intention, also spreading its arms and lunging at the fiery red mech. In the next moment, the two mechs passed each other, followed by a tremendous sound. You little brat. You've got some skills. The black mech activated its loudspeaker, cackling. I hope you can still laugh later. Captain, these two aren't that impressive in terms of control, said a voice from the escape pod, where two individuals, Dongfeng and Nova, were chatting as if they were on vacation. No, you've misjudged this time. The black mech operator's skills are clearly superior. How can you tell? Nova asked, puzzled. Although both mechs exchanged 2 punches and a kick during the recent encounter. Did you notice? The black mech did it deliberately. It took a kick with its thickest armored arm and then struck the red mech at its joint. Alright, enough talk. Let's watch the show. As the two mechs collided again, Dongfeng immediately closed his mouth and lifted his head, focusing intently on the battle unfolding before him. At this moment, all mechs had landed on the ground. A colorful assortment of mechs, grouped in 3s and 5s, surrounded a single black mech, wielding high-frequency oscillation swords and continuously striking towards their target. With such a significant numerical advantage, the black mech could only dodge left and right, protecting its joints and head. The most vulnerable areas. The scales of victory were clearly tipping towards Cook's side. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion echoed, and Dongfeng shifted his gaze to another part of the battlefield. There, 2 figures, one black and one red, were moving at high speed, sometimes in the air, sometimes on the ground, and occasionally entangled together. Upon contact, a dull metallic clashing sound erupted, accompanied by bursts of sparks. You're pretty good, kid. The warm-up is over. Get ready for the real battle. The black mech activated its loudspeaker again, grinning at Cobert. Bring it on. Cobert also activated his loudspeaker, refusing to back down. In the next moment, the black mech drew the high-frequency oscillation sword from its back and shook its arms. In a flash, it disappeared from its original spot. What? Cobert's pupils contracted. He stomped hard on the ground, and with a loud boom, 2 massive craters formed beneath his mech's feet, followed by a burst of red light shooting into the sky. Cobert narrowly avoided a fatal blow from the black mech behind him. Chapter 43. The fight continues. Another loud boom sounded as the shadow followed closely, arriving behind the red light. Damn it! Cobert's heart raced, and he immediately cranked the output power of his foot thrusters to the maximum. He curled his body and rolled out, crashing into the snow and sending snowflakes flying everywhere. As soon as he landed, Cobert dared not stretch out but continued to curl up, using the momentum of his dive to roll forward. A soft pile of snow was plowed into a trench that was a full 50 meters long. Just like that. This time, the black mech did not follow, standing in midair with a dismissive smile. You're not so impressive. Cobert gritted his teeth, got up from the ground, and drew the giant sword strapped to his back. He then assumed the standard combat stance for mecha weapon fighting. Quite the tough talker. The black mech chuckled, slowly descending in front of Cobert, completely disregarding everyone present. Ready? With another laugh, he swung his sword and charged forward. The 2 giant swords clashed, sending sparks flying and gusts of wind swirling. Blocked. Cobert felt a surge of joy, quickly extending his left hand to grip the sword's hilt and pushed forward with force. He then quickly stepped back, pressing his back against the snow pile behind him to prevent the black mech from appearing behind him again. Unexpectedly, the black mech did exactly as he anticipated, using the momentum to retreat and then crouch down. After his feet blasted 2 large pits in the ice, he lunged forward, stabbing at the red mech's abdomen. Just as he struck, the red mech lightly tapped the ground, floating a few meters up, narrowly dodging the lightning-fast thrust, and then stomping down hard, landing on the back of the black mech. Kill! Seizing the opportunity, Cobert shouted, kneeling behind the black mech, and began to hammer down fiercely, pushing the mech deeper into the thick ice layer before standing up, raising his fist, and shouting loudly. Victory is mine. However, he didn't notice that the black mech, which had seemingly lost all resistance, silently stood up. Captain, watch out behind you. At this moment, a member of the Cook mech team, who had already destroyed the black mech and was watching from the sidelines, noticed something unusual. Unfortunately, his warning came a moment too late. Cobert turned around just in time to see a shadow rushing towards him, striking him right on the face. He instinctively raised his hand to cover his face. Thankfully, the high-frequency shock only hit the mech. Just as he was relieved not to be harmed, the holographic image in front of him suddenly flickered, and he could see nothing. After landing a hit, the black mech surged forward, knocking the red mech flying away. With no visibility, Cobert could only lie in the snow, frantically swinging his mech's fists, hoping to block the black mech's next attack. Are you throwing punches like a turtle? The black mech paused again, laughing heartily. The series of actions from the black mech was so swift that the spectators barely had time to react. Cobert had already been taken down. However, at this moment, the black mech's pause provided an opportunity for the mechs watching from the sidelines, who had long wanted to assist. Taking advantage of the black mech's moment of distraction, they raised their laser guns and fired at the black mech. Beams of lasers shot forth like arrows, directly targeting the black mech's back. The black mech remained still, seemingly unaware of the attack from behind, laughing as he raised the giant sword and swung it violently towards the red mech's arm. Everyone felt a surge of joy, not expecting the space pirate to be so arrogant. Therefore, they no longer waited and charged towards the pirate to rescue him. At that moment, a hissing sound erupted as lasers hit the back of the pirate's mech. Just as the words were about to leave their lips, the mechs, rushing forward, were taken aback. It turned out that just as the lasers were about to make contact with the pirate's back, a transparent membrane suddenly lit up on the back of the black mech. It looked thin but was remarkably tough. Dozens of lasers struck it, but only caused it to wobble without any further effect. As expected, the pirate severed the right arm of the mech that was swinging towards him. Are you coming to die? The black mech swiftly turned, sword at the ready, and stomped on the ground, charging into the group of mechs amidst the flying ice shards, advancing rather than retreating. Not good, it's an A-class mech, it has a shield. Use the sword directly. Someone shouted a warning and slowed down. So what if it's an A-class mech? With so many of us, what is there to fear? More ants can take down an elephant. Don't be scared. Charge. Some, undeterred, quickened their pace and collided with the glimmering black mech. Yeah, let us do this. In a thud, one mech collided with over 20 others. However, a B-class mech could never match an A-class mech in power or the materials used for its armor. With a dull thud, a colorfully painted mech was sent flying, its shattered exterior flying everywhere. It was too fast to lock onto. Damn it, you hit me. Watch your back. The black mech once again moved like a ghost, darting left and right. Although the colorful mechs were numerous, they couldn't even touch its armor. Not even once. The battle showcased a one-sided situation, with colorful mechs continuously losing their mechanical legs and collapsing to the ground, just like the pirate mech that had been beaten and immobilized earlier. You little brats, you think you can fight with me? Unsurprisingly, the battle ended with the black mech taking down everyone. Unable to contain its excitement, the black mech began to laugh maniacally. Yalman, stop playing around. Come help. At that moment, on the other side of the battlefield, another black mech that had strayed from the group was engaged in a back-and-forth fight with over 10 colorful mechs. It wasn't that he couldn't handle them, but because one of the mechs was holding a star map storage device. As soon as the black mech dared to attack, the opponent would push the star map forward, actively meeting the incoming giant sword. This made the black mech hesitant, quickly retracting its weapon that was already half thrust out. It wasn't until he noticed his comrade, known as the Skinner Yalman, had taken down all the mechs that he called out loudly. I told you it wouldn't work. Now you're begging me for help? Yalman cursed continuously. But his movements didn't slow down at all, launching himself towards the battlefield. Sir, your flying car paperwork has been completed. You may pick up your vehicle and leave. In the car dealership, a salesperson, grinning widely, respectfully approached the two individuals from the east. Oh, Chapter 44, The Curtain Falls. Efficiency is quite good. The eastern figure nodded, standing up from the sofa while thinking to himself. Xiaoyu, it's time to exit. We should leave. Nova stood up briskly and said, sure thing. Then, the two followed the guide to the car delivery area. The guide pointed to a bright red flying car parked at the entrance, already spotless and shiny, even capable of reflecting images, and cheerfully said, esteemed guests, please check the vehicle condition. The eastern figure stepped forward and touched the car's body. Master, please bind your biometric information before the first use. The car windows rolled down, and the doors automatically flipped open, accompanied by a somewhat mechanical voice from the main control system. Yes, this kind of smart flying car doesn't use keys at all. You just need to bind the owner's iris, voice, fingerprint, and appearance during the first use to operate it normally. Moreover, its detection system can monitor nearby biological entities. As long as someone approaches, it will automatically unlock and open the doors. Is it impossible to use without binding? Of course, it can still be done. However, if you don't bind it, and someone else touches the vehicle, it will still automatically initiate the binding process. So if you don't want to bind it now, you can certainly do it after leaving the black market, as long as you don't forget. It was evident that many people preferred not to bind their vehicles in the black market, and the guide was already accustomed to it. That is fine. Let us get in and go. The eastern figure waved his hand, and after Nova sat down, he closed the door, gently swiping on the control panel's large screen. The flying car took off silently, ascending out of the black market base. Xiaoyu, hold on. Is there a tracker or monitoring device installed in the car? I have no habit of exposing my privacy. Don't worry, it's been checked thoroughly. It's very clean. Are we heading straight home? Yes. You drive the flying car while I check the situation. After saying this, the eastern figure closed his eyes again. When he reconnected with the nanorobots, the chaotic scene that had been filled with people was now completely deserted. All that remained were the ravaged canyon and numerous large pits. along with several severely damaged light mechas that had no repair value. It's only been a few minutes. Is it all over? The Eastern figure controlled the nanorobots to crawl out from under the snow, leaping to the side of a few light mechas. He reached out and opened the outer shell. And as expected, the S-body inside had already been taken away, leaving only some purple-black ice fragments. Needless to say, that was the frozen blood of the Hop humans. Looks like they weren't in a hurry. They even had time to clean up the battlefield. Not quite. Nova's voice approached, finally stopping behind the Eastern figure. He turned to see 49 nanorobots standing motionless in the snow, seemingly appearing from nowhere. I've recorded everything. I'll show you shortly. The spaceship is about to arrive. Let us leave. As soon as she finished speaking, a blinding beam of light appeared in the sky, and in the blink of an eye, the bright light flickered, accompanied by a deafening roar, as the silver-white spacecraft arrived above the robot. A beam of light shot out, and the robot vanished into the cabin. Let's go home. With this remark from Dongfang, the spacecraft turned and sped back in the direction it came from. At the moment the nano-robot boarded the spacecraft, Dongfang opened his eyes in the flying vehicle and turned to glance at Nova, who was slumped in her seat. Xiaoyu, mind your image. Captain, don't look if it's inappropriate. You're not allowed to peek at girls. Nova quickly pulled back her long legs from the control panel and tossed her hair. Do I still need to peek? Should I leave? Where are you going? Clearly, Nova didn't catch that point. All right, you're the older sister. You have the final say. Send me the recording. Let me see what happened. Dongfang stopped engaging and once again employed his tactic of changing the subject. Got it. You drive. After hastily giving this instruction, he closed his eyes and leaned back. Yaoman's black mech shot through the night sky like a streak of black lightning, finally landing beside his comrades. Dick, you still have a long way to go. Pay attention. As soon as he finished speaking, an explosion sounded, and the mech vanished from its original spot. When it reappeared, it was already hovering above the mech holding the star map. Amidst the howling noise, a massive sword slashed diagonally. A mechanical arm soared into the air and landed in Yaoman's mech hand. The dilemma was instantly resolved. To the pilot of the mech holding the star map, it just felt like a flash, and the enormous black mech had already appeared beside him. Then the mainframe began to repeat warnings incessantly. Is this really the power of an S-class mech control master? Dick stood there in shock. Of course, this also included Dongfang, who was watching the recording at that moment. However, he saw things clearly. Unlike the spectators in the arena, he noticed that as Yaoman spoke, the black mech had quietly stepped forward with its right leg, then slightly bent its left leg, allowing the right arm to naturally hang down with the tip of the massive sword resting gently on the ground. As he finished his last word, the left foot immediately exerted force, charging forward. When it reached the side of the target mech, there was a sudden stop, and both feet pushed down simultaneously. With the powerful thrust of the booster, it leapt into the air and slashed diagonally. The movements flowed seamlessly, executed in one breath. It was so natural that it hardly resembled a mech anymore. It was more like a person. How did he achieve this? Had the neural connection technology of the Hop Empire made a groundbreaking advancement, reducing latency to below milliseconds? Impossible. If that were the case, the mechs of the Cook Consortium should be superior, so how could they be effortlessly defeated by Yaoman? No. Dongfang furrowed his brows and fell into thought, allowing the footage to continue playing. He recalled the combat training from Arthur in the virtual reality space. With the infinite as finite and the impossible as possible, the machine and human become one. You must closely watch your opponent and anticipate from their movements. Anticipate. Just as the flying vehicle was about to reach the residential area at the foot of the circular hill, Dongfang suddenly opened his eyes. In a moment of clarity, he understood. Dongfang believed that Yaoman's familiarity with his mech had reached an unbelievable level, operating the mech as if it were his own body, issuing commands for the next move the instant the mechanical structure reacted, step by step, move by move. In the eyes of his opponent, it appeared incredibly fast, almost unbelievable. Of course, this was also supported by the powerful mech. Chapter 45. Encountering Maya against Xiaoyu. We're not going home. Let us go to the spaceship. Inside the flying vehicle, Dongfang suddenly opened his eyes wide. Nova felt as if the cabin had suddenly brightened, as if two lights had been turned on. Turning her head, she met Dongfang's bright eyes. Are we not going home? After her heart raced, Nova stammered. Xiaoyu, what's wrong? Why are you stuttering? Dongfang asked in surprise. Oh, it's nothing. Just go wherever you say, okay? Nova's face flushed, and she quickly turned back, bringing her two delicate fingers together, snapping her fingers with a crisp sound, heading towards the nearest cloud ladder square. Xiaoyu, could you slow down? With such a quick turn, I almost got thrown out. As the spaceship made a sharp turn, Dongfang reached for the handle by the window, pretending to be frightened. Oh, you have a seatbelt for protection. How could you be thrown out? Really? Dongfang scratched his head and laughed. I didn't notice. I'm not talking to you. Hee hee. Luckily the captain didn't see me blush, Let us go. After entering the space age, the busiest place in every civilization is undoubtedly the spaceship dock. So even though it was already late at night, no, it should be around 3 a.m. The huge square in front of the lifting platform below the dock was still bustling with people, crowded and lively. Here, one could see all sorts of strange intelligent beings. Dazzling Dongfang's eyes. For instance, at this moment, a group of creatures with squid-like heads, 8 legs, dressed in leather armor, wearing glass helmets, each holding a metal stick, were chattering away with their companions, capturing Dongfang's attention. Xiaoyu, what on earth is this? Did octopuses come ashore? Seeing them made me think of the grilled squid from my hometown. The taste, wow, simply incredible. Yes, but I wonder what these guys taste like when grilled. Is it good? Hearing Dongfang mention grilled squid, Nova felt a rush of saliva, unable to hold back. Dongfang turned to her, amazed. Truly deserving of the title of foodie. Captain, how about we get a couple to try? Nova had already taken the initiative to sit down. This won't do. Hey, look at those people. Do they look like that person? To avoid unnecessary trouble, the last sentence spoken by Dongfang was in the language of a certain ancient civilization. Moreover, there was a hint of shock in their eyes while speaking. Who are they? Are you referring to the Maya? Nova also spoke in the ancient language, and her voice was quite loud. Upon hearing Nova's question, the 3 people who were approaching suddenly stopped, their eyes filled with curiosity and astonishment. Are you people from the Blue Planet? Dongfang asked. Nova replied. Are you also from the Blue Planet? Or are you Maya? What a naive person. Is this still the being who embodies both wisdom and beauty? Dongfang remarked silently, stepping forward to pull her back. You know about the Maya? The newcomers switched to a more common language, making communication smoother. Dongfang covered Nova's mouth and took over the conversation. Are you truly humans from the Maya civilization? Hey, kid, you haven't answered the chief's question yet. Before the speaker could respond, a young man, seemingly a bodyguard, jumped out from behind him. Mario, be polite and step back. The leader waved his hand. Yes, my chief. Please don't take offense. The young man returned to stand behind him, and the leader then clasped his fists in greeting. No need for excessive courtesy. Dongfang also raised his hands and clasped them in front of his chest. Please, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ping Zimo, and I indeed come from the Maya civilization. May I ask for your names? Have I arrived in ancient Huagua? Dongfang felt a flicker of confusion at the peculiar conversation. Your names? Nova was once again covered up. Oh, I am Dongfang Hongliang, and this is my wife, Gong Xiaoyu. She is still young and doesn't understand much. I am not that young. Nova protested, puffing out her chest. Not young, Dongfang replied perfunctorily, glancing at the 2 opposite him. May I ask where you 2 are headed? Would you honor us with your presence at the tavern ahead for a chat? Ping Zimo clasped his hands together, a smile on his face. My wife and I have urgent matters, so we cannot. Dongfang slowly shook his head. As this was their first meeting, he couldn't easily agree, even if they might be from the familiar Maya civilization. Oh, it is indeed a bit abrupt for a first meeting. Then, may I take a step back and ask if we can exchange contact numbers, Mr. Dongfang? The more friends, the more paths. Ping Zimo bowed respectfully, exuding the demeanor of an ancient gentleman from a certain civilization, making it hard to feel any aversion. All right then. In the end, Dongfang agreed, extending his wrist to lightly touch the other person's, exchanging contact numbers. Thank you, Mr. Dongfang, for your trust. I have important matters to attend to, so I will take my leave first. Please feel free to do as you wish. After saying this, Ping Zimo performed a bow and then turned to walk away with the 2 people behind him. He did not appear to be in a hurry at all, displaying the demeanor of a clan leader. Captain, why didn't you agree? I really want to know if these people are descendants of the Mayans who left the Blue Planet. Also, I have many questions about Yuan. Nova pouted, silently watching the figures of the few people disappear, her eyes full of reluctance. It's okay. Dongfang chuckled and reached out to pat her little head. Now that we have a contact number, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Let us go. I need to return to the ship to verify some things. This is more important. All right. Nova didn't throw a tantrum this time, but obediently turned around and followed Dongfang deeper into the square. Captain, can you walk a bit faster? Hurry back to the ship, and then you can meet Mr. Ping Zimo after finishing your business. I know, we're almost there. Aren't we? Chapter 46. Long time no see, Go Hunan. Under Nova's continuous urging, Dongfang quickened his pace and entered the cloud ladder just before the door closed. Unlike the small cloud ladder they took when entering the polite planet, this time they entered a large public cloud ladder that could accommodate hundreds of people. It was similar to public transportation commonly found on the Blue Planet, with rows of simple seats for passengers to rest briefly, since they were the last to enter. The outermost row of seats with a view of the outside was already filled with people. Oh no, we're late, and I can't see the scenery anymore. Nova glanced around, and, finding no available seats, pulled Dongfang to the nearest row of seats to sit down. What is there to see in the dark? To avoid being noticed, They spoke in low voices and used ordinary language. Humph, even if it's dark outside, I can see clearly, Nova said proudly. It slipped her mind that Nova's eyes were not afraid of the night. Hee. This time, however, they did not encounter any anomalies as the giant cloud ladder ascended. Nevertheless, being public transportation, it was not very fast. After about 20 minutes, just as Dongfang was about to fall asleep, the cloud ladder gently shook and came to a stop. Honey, hurry up. Nova jumped up and pulled Dongfang toward the door. Honey, what are you talking about? I'm still single, you know. The kind that has never been in a relationship. Xiaoyu, what did you just call me? Didn't you introduce me as your wife? Is there something wrong with that? Nova felt her face burning, her heart racing. And she had the overwhelming sensation of being unable to breathe. She didn't dare to look back or stop. But even though she was extremely shy, she didn't let go of Dongfang's hand. He held on to him all the way to the S-101 berth and dove into the automatically opened cabin. All right, Xiaoyu. We've arrived. No more pulling, right? As soon as they entered the cabin, Dongfang chuckled and teased. Really? Really? Oh dear, we did walk quite fast. I'm already sweating. Captain, you go ahead. I'm going to take a shower and change into clean clothes. Nova casually let go of Dongfang's hand and dashed into the depths of the corridor. Sweating? You can sweat. When did you develop that capability? After making a sarcastic remark, Dongfang quietly walked towards another passage. He was already very familiar with the structure of the spaceship and didn't need any guidance. He arrived at a cabin door. Without any verification, the door silently slid open, revealing the inside of a space pod. Oh, so the captain is logging into the virtual reality system. Nova, who was secretly watching from a distance, covered his mouth and laughed, as if he had uncovered a significant secret. In that case, I'll go see what the captain is up to. Oh my, who do we have here? Our little Dongfang. Has Zhong finally remembered his poor teacher? As Dongfang entered the mech training room's changing area, a figure suddenly appeared in the room. The golden-haired, handsome older man Arthur made a dazzling entrance. Teacher, long time no see. Ever since your last visit, though clearly, it was you avoiding me. Dongfang respectfully saluted. And although he spoke teasingly, he had always held a deep respect for this nonchalant teacher. His salute was meticulous, leaving no room for criticism from anyone who came. Really? How could I forget? Oh dear, as one ages, memory tends to fade. As a student, you should help your teacher with this. All right, good teacher, I'll remember that. What nonsense, I'm just a fragment of memory, and you actually believe my words. Arthur's eyes widened in surprise. Dongfang remained unfazed. Ahem. Let us not waste time. What brings you here today? I've already given you everything I had. What else do you expect me to teach you today? It's best if you have nothing and just leave. Teacher, I might have met an S-class mech control master today. What? You've already left Blue Star? What kind of mech was he piloting? How do you determine he is S-class and not A-class? Which civilization's mech was it? Did we capture it? Arthur was startled, dropping his nonchalant demeanor, bombarding Dongfang with a series of questions. Yes, we arrived at a civilization called the Hopian United Nations, and he was piloting a humanoid mech. From what I heard from both sides in the conflict, it should be an A-class mech, and we did not capture the mech. Dongfang paused, organized his thoughts, and then spoke. Didn't I just say it could be an S-class mech control master? That's just my guess, or rather, my feeling. I can't be sure if he is truly S-class. Hopian civilization? I haven't heard of it. Probably just some small civilization in a remote corner. What level of civilization is it? Level 3 civilization. By the way, teacher, Xiaoyu recorded a video of the battle scene. Let me show you. With a wave of his hand, Dongfang replayed the battle beneath the snow-capped mountains. Arthur found a seat and focused intently on the video. The video was short because Dongfang jumped straight to the battle segment. After it ended, Arthur remained silent, his brow slightly furrowed, and he closed his eyes. Seeing the teacher like this, Dongfang quietly entered a small room and changed into his combat suit. When he came out, Arthur had already opened his eyes and was rewatching the video. Teacher, you continue. I'm going to practice in the arena. Arthur didn't look away. Go ahead, I'll watch. Dongfang nodded and left the changing room, walking down a long corridor into the enormous hangar. This hangar was far more impressive than the one at the black market. Just how big was it? At least Dongfang couldn't judge with the naked eye. But he could tell that the height definitely exceeded 100 meters because he saw the starry mecha parked in the center, which he had seen before at the bottom of the sea. I wish I could pilot it. Captain, that might not be possible. Nova suddenly appeared beside him, pointing to a second-generation mecha that looked like a toy compared to the starry mecha, then gestured to another mecha nearby that was about the same height, but slimmer. You can handle the second-generation mecha, and you can also try the basic model of the third-generation mecha. After all, on Pegasus, your physical fitness has improved again. Then I'll try the second-generation mecha first. I haven't moved in a while, and I'm a bit rusty. Dongfang nodded, rubbing his wrist as he walked toward the orange mecha. Chapter 47, Radio Calisthenics under the mecha's feet. Without any visible movement, The mecha let out a hiss and automatically opened the hatch located on its chest. A retractable ladder descended, and Dongfang reached out to grab it, quickly disappearing into the hatch. Still the familiar formula, the familiar taste. He muttered as he pressed the start button. The control panel lit up instantly, the circular rings closed, and Dongfang stepped on the power pedal. As the saying goes, if you don't practice for 3 days, your skills will rust, and Dongfang was no exception. As the orange mecha lifted its leg, it stumbled a couple of steps and nearly fell, but after a few strides, it returned to normal. Finally, it began to run with large strides. A streak of orange light, accompanied by afterimages, dashed into the training ground. So impressive. Nova stood on the sidelines, her arms crossed over her chest, her eyes filled with admiration. In her eyes, everything about Dongfang was perfect, without a single flaw. However, Dongfang didn't disappoint her. The massive orange mecha dashed left and right in the arena, moving swiftly and elegantly, and the strong winds generated by its high-speed movement even messed up Nova's hairstyle. Oh my, indeed, as swift as a hare in motion and as still as a virgin in repose. Nova clapped her hands, cheering and jumping around like a little fan. Nova, calm down. What kind of mecha operator haven't you seen? A flash of light appeared, and Arthur showed up. Oh dear, eavesdropping on others will lead to trouble. Nova suddenly turned his head and shot a fierce glare at him. I've seen everything in my life, so I still know how to be shy. Arthur chuckled, reverting to his old self, making lewd gestures to the extreme, completely losing any semblance of a charming gentleman. Are you trying to spend some time in the little darkroom? Nova stomped his right foot and put his hands on his hips. Ahem. I knew you were going to bully me. Arthur tossed his hair back and took a couple of steps away, placing his hand vertically by his mouth and pretentiously shouted. Little Eastern, stop with all those fancy moves, basics. Do you understand the basics? I know, teacher. I'm just warming up. Unexpectedly, Eastern actually heard him and turned on the mecha's loudspeaker. You call this warming up? My mindset is collapsing. I might as well take a break. Well, suit yourself. Weakly raising his hand, he walked over to the other side and sat down. Meanwhile, the orange lights in the training area gradually gathered, eventually merging into a group and coming to a stop. Now starting the 21st set of radio calisthenics. Please prepare. Just then, the loudspeakers around the training ground suddenly blared. Arthur, Nova, Eastern, who was focused on piloting the mecha, could not see the expressions of the two. His fingers danced on the control panel like butterflies. It was as if he was playing the piano, and his graceful posture revealed confidence. Then the mecha moved, raising hands, lifting feet, squatting, bending, stretching. Just like a high school student preparing for gymnastics. First session, marching in place. 1 2 3 4 2, 2 3 4, thud, 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 thud. The mecha's large feet alternately lifted and stepped down. Executing the movements with precision, though slightly delayed, the rhythm was quite accurate. But Arthur, sitting on the sidelines, was suffering as the mecha's feet stomped on the ground. He felt like a being placed on a big drum, bouncing around and unable to sit still. This is unbearable. They are teaming up to bully the old man. After a firm stomp, Arthur stood up and disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in the lounge on the sidelines, sitting on a soft sofa, looking out at the training ground through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Second session, stretching exercises. Arthur grimaced in pain. After finally enduring 15 minutes, he quickly sat up, excitedly gazing at the mecha standing still in the arena. As expected, in stark contrast to Arthur was Eastern in the cockpit, who excitedly retracted his slightly stiff hands and crossed them. With a series of clicks, a smile appeared on Eastern's face as he closed his eyes, preparing for a review. Because in what seemed like simple calisthenics, he validated his thoughts. Now he could be sure, it was all about anticipation. To be precise, Yalman had achieved victory with overwhelming advantage by using anticipation. Not only anticipating the opponent's movements, but also predicting the mecha's reactions. For instance, when the mecha was to raise its arm to wield a sword, Eastern could either complete it in one command or operate it manually in parts. A command is completed with the assistance of the mech's central brain. As the operator, one only needs to press the sword retrieval and arm lift control buttons, and the central brain will automatically execute the related operations. However, if manual control is used, the operator must step on the left foot power pedal, open the mechanical hand, move it to the back, draw the shock sword, and then raise it, which constitutes a complete operation. This process is not only cumbersome, but also must be executed in the correct sequence. Any mistake could lead to the central brain locking down and the mech halting movement. When the operator first learned about mechs and observed these two different operation modes, he laughed, thinking it was an absurd design, or that the manual mode was merely a learning tool for beginners to familiarize themselves with mech operation. In combat, it was practically useless, or rather, one wouldn't be able to react in time. It could be considered a mode that risks one's life. Later, as his proficiency in controlling the mech improved, he occasionally used manual control, as the automatic mode was too rigid and could easily be predicted by the opponent, leading to his defeat. However, he used it sparingly, as the situation in battle changed rapidly, and he still found it somewhat difficult to react. It wasn't until he witnessed a battle by another operator that he had an epiphany. The central brain, after all, could not replace human intuition. The automatic mode was fundamentally designed to lower the entry barrier, specifically tailored for mech operators. Understanding this, he immediately abandoned the automatic operation mode and opted for full manual control. Although his fingers were stiff, he believed it was all worth it, as he had just completed a routine using manual control without making any mistakes. This was a breakthrough, a significant leap. He had unknowingly surpassed his previous level and firmly reached the standard of an A-level mech operator. With his eyes tightly closed, but his eyeballs rolling beneath his eyelids, the process of controlling the mech replayed frame by frame in his mind, like a movie. Oh, there was a slight error during the squat. He bent his knees about 1/10 of a second too late. By the time he reached the second segment, he had already identified a mistake. When he jumped with his arms outstretched, he failed to open the mech's toes in time as his left heel touched the ground. Chapter 48. Are we doing this again? Huh, I thought I did well. Unexpectedly, I found so many errors in such a short time. Let me count, probably around 107 mistakes. In the mech cockpit, after reviewing his performance, he opened his eyes. He shook his head repeatedly, seemingly dissatisfied with his recent operation. Should he try again? Or practice dual operation with the mech? No, he hadn't even mastered walking yet. How could he think about running? That wouldn't he do. This thought came to mind, but before he could act on it, he quickly dismissed it. I must continuously train, and train again. Until I form perfect muscle memory, can I advance to the next stage? The operational movements of the mech manual, yes, that's the plan. Why is this kid still not moving? Is he asleep? Arthur sat by the window, lazily nibbling on an apple. Now starting, the 21st set of radio calisthenics, Dancing with Youth. Arthur, ugh. The apple flew out of his hand, and he grimaced. He vanished from his spot, unwilling to watch the mech in the arena, hands on hips, shaking its hips continuously. It was hard to watch, really hard. Is this really the mech known as the king of land warfare? I'm out of here. In stark contrast was Nova, who stood by the side, not moving an inch. Her eyes glazed as she watched the orange mech jumping and flaunting its waist and hips. So amazing, so impressive. The 21st set of radio calisthenics, Dancing with Youth, now starting, the first session, seemingly tireless, again and again. Half an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. Time flew by. The orange mech finally came to a stop, dragging its slightly fatigued body step by step toward the hangar. Hey, why does it feel so different from just now? Why does it seem a bit stiff? Nova tilted her head, revealing some fine lines on her beautiful forehead. You noticed too? Arthur, who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, emerged from behind a pillar near Nova. Noticed what? Stiffness. Oh, what stiffness? I want to meet the captain. With a whoosh, Nova disappeared, reappearing outside the men's changing room. Hey, why aren't they out yet? After waiting a full 15 minutes, the door to the men's changing room remained tightly shut, with no signs of movement. Forget it. It's not like I haven't seen it before. Nova bit her lip, stomped her foot, and squinted one eye. Where is everyone? Looking at the empty changing room, Nova turned and vanished. Still not enough? Even though there were fewer mistakes, I still tend to mess up during intense movements. Hey, I need extra practice. Captain, where are you going? Xiaoyu. The two brushed past each other in the spaceship. Dongfang grunted and headed into the cafeteria without looking back, grabbing food and wolfing it down, mumbling something under his breath. Nova quietly entered the cafeteria and leaned in closer. No, I don't know enough about mechs yet. I'm still far from it, really far. But how did Yalman do it? What if I practice more? Yes, extra practice. After devouring a table full of high-energy food, Dongfang suddenly stood up and left, heading deeper into the spaceship. Captain, you haven't slept in a long time. You should go rest. Nova caught up and grabbed Dongfang's arm. Look at yourself, you haven't rested all night. At least go take a shower. You smell. Do I? Dongfang finally stopped, pinched a corner of his clothes, and sniffed. Wow, it really is quite pungent. I'll go wash up and then sleep. Thanks to Nova's interruption, Dongfang finally set aside his thoughts about mech control for a moment. That's more like it. Rest well, and maybe I'll have some ideas. Nova chuckled and pulled Dongfang to turn and walk towards the rest cabin. Hey, Xiaoyu, who do you think knows the most about mechas? Since he hadn't figured it out himself, he might as well ask. They say that 3 people walking together must have something to teach me. And Dongfang was not a rigid person. It wouldn't be in his character to disregard a Nova, who was full of knowledge and youthful energy. Well, I think it should be the mecha trainers, since they spend the most time with mechas. No, that's not right. Dongfang shook his head. It should be the mecha designers. Because they draw every detail. Nova nodded, as if encouraging himself. It must be that way. Well, that makes some sense. However, Dongfang paused, pressing his hand to his forehead. Designers, mecha controllers, designers. His fingers tapped in a rhythmic pattern, one after another, neither too hard nor too soft. After a while, Dongfang stopped. Forget it. I can't figure it out, so I won't think about it anymore. Time to take a shower. Right. Dongfang strode towards the captain's room, with Nova closely following. Not falling behind a step. In front of the bathroom door of the captain's room, Dongfang halted. Xiaoyu, this is the bathroom. Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with all the places on the ship. No need for you to tell me. Well, I know Xiaoyu is a beautiful girl with both beauty and wisdom. Hee. Oh my. If you praise someone like that, they'll get shy? You even know how to be shy. What's wrong? The bathroom. The one where you have to take off your clothes. Nova covered her face and turned away. Dongfang closed the door, undressed, and took a shower. The next day at 6 o'clock a.m., Dongfang opened his eyes on time. He jumped out of bed, quickly got dressed, and headed straight for the dining hall. I must say, Nova was well prepared. In front of Dongfang's designated seat, there was a large table full of food, everything from beefsteak to giant bird eggs, all high-protein dishes. However, the cooking style was familiar with traditional flavors. Not bad. A few minutes later, Dongfang wiped his mouth and stood up. Teacher Arthur, let's not practice today. I want to talk to you. Upon entering the training center, Dongfang grabbed a middle-aged handsome man who was pretending to pass by. Go ahead, I'm listening. Who do you think knows the most about mechas? Hey, you asked the right person. I've specialized in this. If you ask others, they'll definitely tell you it's the mecha controllers or designers. But today, I'll teach you something good. It's actually the mecha repair technicians. Repair technicians? A light bulb went off in Dongfang's head, and he stood up excitedly. I want to go. Go where? To repair mechas. Chapter 49. The first close encounter, you want to repair mechas? Looking at the anxious expression on the captain's face, Nova showed a curious look. Dongfang nodded confidently. Yes. Remember the question I asked you yesterday? Are you talking about the person who knows the most about mechas? I get it now. Nova suddenly realized. Of course. How did I not think of it before? The mecha repair technician is the one who knows mechas best. They know best which components of the mecha are most vulnerable after intense battles and where the structures are more robust. Moreover, throughout their long maintenance careers, they have become familiar with every part of the mecha, even every screw and every inch of the outer armor. But where can they find a damaged mecha now? The virtual reality system doesn't store the memories of the maintenance masters. Xiaoyu, what is the situation? Is there no way? Seeing Nova lost in thought, Dongfang was a bit surprised. This was the first time he had seen Nova like this, stumped by his own request. What should he do? Should we call Arthur? He does have some experience with mecha repairs. Arthur, can you repair mechas? Thinking of this, Nova connected the communication. Is it Xiao Dongfang looking for you? He needs repairs for the second-generation mecha. I can't help. The middle-aged handsome man shook his head, a look of despondency on his face. If only the Earthring star were still around. Oh, why talk about things that can't be changed? Forget it, I'll find a way myself. Nova ended the communication and quickly searched the database. Mecha Maintenance Manual by Apollo? Useful. Introduction to and Mastery of Mecha by Mecha Academy? Useful. How to become a Mecha Maintenance Master? Not bad. Maintenance Secrets that Mecha Masters won't tell you by Marta? Is this clickbait? Whatever, let the captain decide for himself. But now that I have the books, where can I practice? Let me look for literary types. No use. Archaeology types. Game types. ISNT this the popular mecha master from the Earthring? Haha, got it. Captain, I found a place where you can repair mechas. Nova opened her eyes with a smile. What are we waiting for? Take me there. Dongfang eagerly grabbed Nova to set off. Aren't you going to ask where we're going? So impatient. Nova giggled and held on to Dongfang. All right, hurry up, Miss Xiaoyu. Dongfang awkwardly scratched his head, letting go and standing still. Let us go. Time to play a game. Game? No way. I might as well practice by myself. Dongfang frowned, unreliable. Just wait until I get back. I'll definitely put you in a small dark room this time. Oh, Captain, what are you thinking? It's not that kind of game. It's a mecha maintenance practice. Now that sounds right. Let us hurry. Okay, but before that, you need to study a little first to build some knowledge. Dongfang nodded, staring at Nova without moving. Let us go. Nova's face turned slightly red as she took Dongfang's hand. The virtual reality system is reconnecting. Please wait. Dongfang's vision went dark. And when he opened his eyes again, he found himself ejected from the virtual reality system. 3, 2, 1, neural connection complete. All indicators are normal. Brain area developed 3331. Can withstand. What is starting? Dongfang was startled. Isn't this supposed to be studying? What is Nova doing? Is she trying to trick her captain again? Just when he was filled with doubt, he suddenly felt darkness before his eyes, followed by countless images, formulas, texts, videos, and voices flooding his mind. Accompanying this was a splitting pain in his brain, as if someone were desperately tearing at it, causing sharp stings, tearing sensations, and numbness, with various feelings surging in like a tide. Dongfang couldn't help but let out a roar. Meanwhile, his body, which was placed in the capsule, also hunched over, resembling a boiled shrimp, with veins bulging and skin turning red. Xiaoyu, you tricked the captain again. Dongfang shouted in pain. Oh, please bear with it. It's a matter of getting used to it. Without effort, how can there be a reward? Nothing comes without hard work. Just hold on a bit longer. Maybe you'll have a different experience soon. Nova appeared in Dongfang's mind. Dongfang, however, could only focus on the pain, and after hearing the phrase different experience, he was once again submerged by a tide of knowledge and intense agony. What nonsense. Where is this different experience? After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 20 minutes, he suddenly noticed that the influx of knowledge had slowed down, and the pain also began to lessen. Soon, a tingling sensation spread throughout his body like an electric current. Relief. The pain subsided, and his breathing gradually calmed down. Hee. I told you there would be a different experience soon, right? You big-headed ghost. Just wait until I deal with you today. The transmission completely stopped, and Dongfang pushed open the capsule cover, leaped out, and reached for Nova, who was waiting at the edge of the capsule. Oh no, Captain, spare me. Pleading is useless. Dongfang's right hand wrapped around Nova's delicate neck, pulling her down to his side with force. Nova bent her waist, resting her head between Dongfang's arms, twisting constantly. Let us see you trick your captain again. Will you dare next time? Oh dear, I was wrong. I want to do it again. There's going to be a next time. In the struggle, Nova wrapped her arms around Dongfang's waist and pulled back. Oh, Dongfang experienced for the first time how strong Nova was. With just a slight pull, he was lifted off the ground, arms flailing. Upon hearing Dongfang's exclamation, Nova's heart tightened, and she quickly released her grip, afraid to use force again. However, in her panic, she didn't consider Dongfang's arm around her neck. Both of them fell backward at the same time, about to crash onto the deck. In a split second, Dongfang shouted, using his core strength to twist his body in midair, turning them to face each other. Then, he wrapped his arms around Nova tightly and fell onto the deck first, their faces pressed together, lips touching. So soft and sweet. Captain, why are you sticking your tongue out? This feels pretty good. Wait, why does the captain still have a wrench? Has she gone crazy fixing the mecha? Chapter 50. Private Captain, your wrench is pressing against me. As the Eastern officer took a moment to catch his breath, Nova quickly spoke up and reached out to retrieve the wrench, hoping to make himself more comfortable. Why can't I pull it out? It's broken. Nova's interruption extinguished the Eastern officer's desire, and he pushed his soft body up to stand. Cough, cough, that is not a wrench. Oh, I know. A faint voice responded. If you know, then why are you tightening it? To cover the awkwardness, the Eastern officer took the initiative. Nova, so shy? Oh dear, this is so embarrassing. It's so hot. I need to take a shower. Captain, please log back into the virtual reality system and play the game MechMaster. Nova, feeling defeated, turned and rushed out. Oh, actually, this feels pretty good. The Eastern officer, standing there, let out a breath, smacked his lips a few times, and chuckled. No wonder people say she is a soft girl, really soft, really big. Feels so good. I just wonder if it's fair-skinned. What a pity, scumbag. Amidst the lewd laughter, the Eastern officer laid back down in the space pod. Connecting. Please wait. After the main system's prompt ended, the Eastern officer's eyes lit up as he arrived at the plaza he first reached when using the virtual reality system. Before he could speak, a floating screen suddenly lit up in front of him, displaying the control interface of the virtual operating system. The Eastern officer shook his head and smiled. He knew this must be Nova guiding him, afraid he wouldn't find the game entrance. As he focused his gaze, he indeed noticed something different. The entrance to MechMaster was prominently larger than the sound volume, graphics, and tutorials, and it seemed they highlighted it to make it stand out even more. What was there to hesitate about? The Eastern officer reached out and clicked. With a flash of light, everything turned pitch black. Then, several golden words leapt out, announcing MechMaster. Immediately, a magnificent background music began to play, and mechs, giant warships, and battle scenes flashed before his eyes. The Eastern officer saw familiar battle fortresses, the second-generation mechs, the first-generation mechs, and enormous starry mechs, all bursting with vitality. The Eastern officer felt his blood boiling, as if he were on the battlefield himself. This was the place a man should be. With a hearty laugh, the light and shadow gradually faded, returning to darkness. Meanwhile, the passionate background music slowly disappeared. Background. In the Earth Ring civilization, planet YKL-96 was suddenly attacked by a hostile civilization without any warning. The patrol fleet of the Razemen was completely defeated, and the hostile civilization successfully landed on the planet, launching a full-scale invasion. Caught off guard, the 20th Mech Legion was destroyed in the hangar, and the major cities of the planet were mostly occupied, with only a few cities still organizing resistance. Following the military command, the 5th Army Fleet, located in a nearby star region, rushed to provide support. As a logistics mechanic in the 3rd Battalion of the 21st Mecha Group Army, You will follow the battalion into the battlefield. Establish a temporary mecha maintenance center to provide logistical support on the battlefield. As the elegant voice finished speaking, Dongfang noticed the blurry scene in front of him suddenly shook, and he found himself in a barracks. Opposite him stood a burly man with a full beard. Before Dongfang could react, he glanced around and saw a row of people beside him, all dressed in classic army uniforms of the Earthring civilization. Private, what are you dawdling for? Yes, I'm talking about you. Why are you looking at others? The burly man shouted. Dongfang was taken aback and looked at the people around him again. Are you challenging my patience? Private. The burly man stepped closer, shouting loudly right in Dongfang's face. Damn, he is talking about me, Dongfang thought, quickly using his peripheral vision to observe the others and tried to stand as straight as they were. Good. Now that looks like something. Although we are just maintenance personnel, without us, many mechas with only minor damage might not make it to the battlefield. So, don't belittle yourselves. Do your job well. The maintenance station is our battlefield. Do you understand? Understood. Dongfang shouted back. Good. Then let's set off and get to our combat positions. Yes. Following the crowd, Dongfang arrived at a workshop. He looked up and immediately recognized many familiar instruments, large robotic arms, heavy lifting platforms, polymer metal smelting devices, and numerous mecha parts. Just as he was inspecting the equipment, he suddenly felt a tremor beneath his feet. In the distance, he could faintly hear the sound of a huge explosion. Soon, a whistling sound echoed above the workshop. Everyone in the workshop fell silent. Young men, don't just stand there. Quickly check the status of the equipment. The battle ahead has started. And our fight is coming too. The burly man, revealing his muscular arms, clapped his hands and turned to shout. Understood, sir. After responding, everyone got busy. And Dongfang pretended to check the equipment at the lifting platform. The burly man was right. In less than half an hour, the first mecha was brought in. It was delivered by a flying ship, a second-generation model, with its external armor in tatters, the right arm completely missing, and the left leg half gone. With the cockpit door wide open, Dongfang peered inside, and thankfully found no sign of a pilot. Clear the way. Don't block the path. Suddenly, the distinctive shout of the burly man came through, and Dongfang immediately stepped aside. It was a mecha. However, it wasn't a combat type that Dongfang was familiar with. Instead, it was a Hercules engineering mecha with several arms on the upper body and massive hydraulic supports on the lower body. Compared to the second-generation model, it was like a giant. The burly man drove it over to the second-generation mecha, extended a mechanical arm, gently grabbed the black market-painted second-generation mecha, turned around, and placed it on the maintenance rack. Without waiting for his command, the comrades alongside him immediately picked up their maintenance tools, and within just 10 minutes, they had removed all the external armor from the mech. The intricate mechanical joints, the now closed small cold fusion reactor, and the thick cables appeared before him. It was his first time observing the internal structure of the second-generation mech with his own eyes. Beautiful. So beautiful. This is the crown of human industry. Compared to this, the aircraft on Blue Planet seemed like child's play. He stood there, mesmerized. Chapter 51. A small test. The precision-crafted mechanical structures glimmered with a captivating metallic sheen under the lights. Surely, no man could resist such a deadly allure. After a silent sigh of admiration, he quickly walked to the platform below. Kid, step back. Don't get hit by the armor. A soldier, moving across the mech's body like Spider-Man, shouted as he noticed him approaching. He certainly didn't want to see this rookie, who was making his battlefield debut, turned into a pulp. Move aside. Use the small engineering mech to take the armor over to Private Kate. Noticing the bewildered look on him, the soldier raised his massive mechanical arm and pointed to Private Kate, who was tossing the external armor into the molecular smelting device. Yes, with a sigh of relief, he realized he was completely out of place. He hurried to a corner of the workshop and climbed into an engineering mech, which was just over 3 meters tall and, like the Hercules mech, was supported by hydraulic columns at the base. It looked similar to the Hercules mech, just much smaller, and naturally, its application scenarios were quite different. However, due to the resemblance, the mech repairers affectionately referred to it as Little King Kong. Since it was his first time operating an engineering mech, his initial steps were unsteady. This drew laughter from the veteran watching him from the platform. I say, that kid can't even handle Little King Kong. And he dares to come to the mech army? Ha! His words caught the attention of many. In truth, it wasn't that he couldn't operate the engineering mech. He had absorbed related knowledge during his training with Nova. However, practical application on the first try inevitably led to mistakes. While he had memorized the knowledge, mastering its application required extensive practice to truly make it his own. But who was he? After all he had been through, how could the teasing of his comrades affect his mindset? He quietly closed his eyes, his pupils rapidly moving beneath his eyelids, recalling the operating manual for the engineering mech at an incomprehensible speed. Opening his eyes, he crossed his arms and pressed down on the power pedal with his right foot. Little King Kong shot forward, leaping to the feet of the second-generation mech, effortlessly grabbing two pieces of external armor. An engineering mech was transformed into a combat mech under his control. What the heck? Am I seeing things? The veteran rubbed his eyes involuntarily, seemingly unable to believe what was unfolding before him. Because the little giant was lifting the two largest and heaviest external armor pieces located at the chest of the second-generation mech. Even a seasoned mech pilot would struggle to lift just one at a time. If anyone dared to lift both, they could expect the little giant to lose balance and fall right on the spot. This was something a rookie, who almost toppled an empty mech, could manage. Damn. What the hell? The veteran's exclamation once again attracted everyone's attention, including that of the bearded man who had just stepped down from the Hercules mech. What a kid. This is a good soldier for my mech team, able to go to battle and repair mechs. The burly man laughed heartily and turned to the others on the mech. What the hell are you all doing? We've got mechs to deliver. After his shout, everyone returned their focus and got back to work. Some were dismantling, while others were refining, and the workshop regained its lively atmosphere. Back to the east, the little giant, holding the two pieces of external armor, hurried in a few strides to the fully automated metal refining machine. Unable to wait for the slow material conveyor to arrive, he directly tossed the armor into the feeding port. In just under 2 minutes, a series of clanging sounds echoed, and the discharge port released various standard metal blocks. Private, give me the metal blocks. Hearing the refining machine was discharging, Kate called out to the east. Coming. The east replied and immediately pushed a cart filled with metal blocks to the front of the fully automated metal refining forge. Just in time. Kate's face lit up with joy as he operated the robotic arm to toss the metal blocks into the melting furnace. The east leaned closer, playfully pretending not to understand, and asked, Brother, is it really that simple to just throw them in? Don't we need to operate anything? You have a point there. In a good mood. Kate glanced sideways at the east and pointed at the control panel of the machine. Didn't Lieutenant Philemon just ask everyone to prepare? I already input the blueprints and refining formulas into the auxiliary brain, so we just need to toss the metal ingots in. This is fully automated. Soon we will have a brand new piece of external armor. I see. Then why don't you take a break, and I'll throw them in? Kate tilted his head back and laughed, looking a bit smug. It's good that you have a desire to learn, but you have to take it step by step. And eat one bite at a time. Don't think it's just a simple toss. Do you know what metal I'm throwing? I saw that the machine required more metal, needing a substantial input, and with 4,517 units of rare metals like manganese and tungsten remaining. So what you just put in was steel ingots, right? Kate, winky face, what's wrong, brother? Did I say something wrong? Kate rolled his eyes at the mech and quietly stepped aside. If you want to throw, go ahead. I'll just take a break. Don't react so strongly. Okay. The east chuckled and walked over to the feeding port, sending one metal ingot after another inside. Before long, there was a loud clanging sound as the machine's forging system began to operate on its own. Finally, a massive amount of water vapor rose up as the mechanical arm placed an identical piece of external armor on the chest. The little guy took it and gently set it aside, then casually swiped across the control panel of the forging device. The alert for lack of materials sounded again. The little guy's 4 mechanical arms were swinging like shadows. Before long, another piece of external armor was sent out. Damn. Kate, who was resting nearby, widened her eyes. Is this mecha operation level really human? Although the little guy wasn't very big, his metal fingers were at least as thick as radishes. He was actually using them to press the control panel's display, not only without causing any damage, but also with a finesse similar to his original fingers. So he stood there, blankly watching the Eastern figure operate the forging device, which originally required 3 people to use smoothly. However, the busy Eastern had no idea that his actions to speed things up had once again shocked his comrades. He continued repeating the previous operation until the mechanical hand grabbed nothing. Huh, is that it? Unsatisfied, Eastern scratched his head and turned to look under the second-generation mecha. Bro, there are no materials left, let me help. Sure, you go do your thing. As soon as Eastern spoke, Kate was immediately jolted awake. He hurried to the control panel to check the status. Don't let that guy break it, or we'll get scolded again. It was only then that he realized he needed to check how the device was doing. After all, there was only one in the workshop, and if it got damaged, it would be a hassle. Chapter 52. Joining the group, Eastern had no idea what the veteran was thinking, but even if he did, he would just laugh it off. At this moment, his eyes were filled with the sight of the second-generation mecha having a new mechanical arm installed. The little guy picked up 2 pieces of external armor again and ran to the foot of the mecha, casually placing the armor on the parts rack. Looking up and asking, Sir, do you need my help? What? Want to repair the mecha? It was the same mechanic who had just instructed him to deliver materials. Eastern opened the cockpit of the engineering mecha and nodded vigorously. The veteran hesitated a bit because according to the Army's usual practices, newly joined mechanics were not allowed to participate in mecha repairs. First, it was because the privates had too little knowledge of repair, and second, They needed to observe the privates for a period to prevent anyone with ulterior motives from learning the secrets of the mecha. Only after a year and passing the evaluation would they gradually teach soldiers the techniques of mecha repair. However, customs were just customs and hadn't really formed regulations. Plus, he knew there was a third reason. The veteran wanted to make the new recruits do the hard labor. So when he noticed Eastern's exceptional performance, he felt a bit hesitant. After all, it takes over 3 years to train a real mecha repairman, and as they were the vanguard, the number of repairmen they brought along was already quite limited. If they could add one more mechanic, that would be equivalent to having many more mechas. Boss, this kid wants to learn mecha repair. What do you think? Since I can't make the decision myself, I might as well ask for guidance. Teach me. This kid comes from a prominent family in the realm, so there shouldn't be any issues. After all, we are in a hurry, and the maintenance personnel are already scarce. Besides, it's just a second-generation model. It should be fine. After a long while, the veteran finally replied to the soldier. All right, put on the assistive mechanical arm and come up on the lift. Just when Dongfang was about to give up, the veteran's melodious voice came down. Ah, got it. After handing the little mechanical companion to the busy comrade beside him, Dongfang ran to the side of the workbench where the maintenance tools were placed. A bit dazed, he saw that the outermost item on the table was a large mechanical arm, identical to the one worn by the veteran and Kate. Next to it was a sizable metal box, an item that only a few veterans carrying mechs would have. Apart from that, there were several smaller components, screws, nuts, drive parts, flanges, gears, bearings, all neatly categorized. What on earth is this for? Kid, why are you dazed? Put on the assistive mechanical arm, carry the tool kit, and bring all the parts up. Upon hearing the veteran's words, Dongfang, who was in a dilemma, immediately recalled the relevant knowledge. It turned out that the box next to him was a special toolbox designed for mech repairs, containing all the tools needed for maintaining mechs, socket wrenches, welding guns, multi-purpose screwdrivers, and so on. It could be said to be the treasure chest for mech repairs. However, the box was too heavy and could only be used while wearing the assistive mechanical arm. Dongfang was momentarily stunned due to the overload of knowledge, but after the veteran shouted, he quickly retrieved the relevant information, donned the assistive mechanical arm in no time, and strapped the treasure chest to his back. But that wasn't all. He reached behind with his left hand, which wasn't wearing the mechanical arm, and pressed a button somewhere, causing the treasure chest to automatically open. He then began to stuff the parts from the workbench into it. Every type he could think of, he had. This kid, seeing this scene, the veteran, referring to someone with long military service, not actually old, couldn't stop smiling, realizing this wasn't just a rookie. Come on up. He waved from the shoulder of the mech. In the astonished gazes of everyone, Dongfang climbed onto the foot of the second-generation mech like a monkey, quickly gripping the handles left for maintenance, and soon reached the mech's waist. Finally, he climbed the retractable ladder, crossed over the control cabin, and leaped right to the side of the veteran. Private Dongfang reports in. Good kid. The veteran slapped Dongfang's shoulder hard with his free hand. Unable to contain the smile on his face, Woodrow stopped grinning. Look up. Suddenly, a third-class soldier standing at the mech's waist yelled. Dongfang glanced with his peripheral vision and saw a shadow flying towards them, and it seemed about to collide with the two. Suddenly, without any warning, Dongfang crouched down, and the mechanical arm pulled Woodrow downwards. The two of them became one, with one lying on the shoulder of the mech and the other dangling in midair. They had been so focused on Dongfang's every move that they completely overlooked the fact that a new mechanical arm had already been hoisted over. If it weren't for the quick reminder from a comrade and Dongfang's swift reaction, both of them would have been in serious trouble. Thank you, Dongfang, Woodrow said, still shaken from the experience. Brother Woodrow, we're comrades, no need for pleasantries. Let me pull you up, Dongfang replied as he exerted force with the mechanical arm, bringing Woodrow back up. As soon as they returned to the mech's shoulder, Woodrow extended his mechanical arm to catch the mech's left arm swinging back towards them. Come on, Dongfang, let me teach you, he said. All right. Dongfang felt a surge of joy. This meant he had gained the trust of the older brother. Both of them extended their mechanical arms to grasp the mech's left arm and pulled gently. The massive mechanical arm felt weightless as it fell into place on the mech's shoulder. Since the universal joint needed to be cast as a single piece, Woodrow had already removed a portion of the mech's shoulder. Next, they only needed to place the reserve connector of the mechanical arm onto the designated latch on the mech's shoulder and then secure it with rivets. This is the convenience brought about by technological advancement. Working in tandem, they quickly completed the repairs on the damaged radar, T-wave detector, fire control system, and dynamic visual system on the mech's head. The area above the mech's shoulders looked brand new. Dongfang, let us go? I'll take you to see how to repair the mech's legs and how to suspend the external armor. With Dongfang's assistance, Woodrow felt that his work efficiency was exceptionally high that day. In a good mood, he wanted to teach this exceptionally talented young man more about maintenance. You see, repairing the right leg is actually quite similar to repairing the shoulder. However, because the leg experiences more collisions and greater loads. The power delivery pipes and cables are hidden inside the skeleton. This is to better protect the fragile pipes. Of course, during repairs, we first need to replace the energy pipelines before fixing the external metal skeleton. These repairs are relatively simple. But the most challenging part is the mech's heart and the source of power, the stepper motor. Standing next to him, Dongfeng quietly nodded as he watched this veteran, who was usually reserved but lit up with enthusiasm when talking about mech repairs. This game is really good. Just what I wanted. Chapter 53, Woodrow's Dilemma. As the veteran had said, the three people repairing the mech were, like him, simply replacing a mechanical leg. There was basically no difficulty involved. Brother, if that's the case, then what difficulty is there? As long as one has a basic understanding of the mech structure, anyone can repair it. Woodrow chuckled and said, this is just the beginning. Have you ever thought about this question? What should we do when our raw materials and spare parts are insufficient? Dismantle something? Combine two machines into one? There's nothing much to say about that. They are standard parts, so just swap them out. This is indeed a good solution. But think again, maybe there's a better way. However, don't get stuck in a rut. After all, human resources can be limited, and we are not repair masters. Actually, he said this with a purpose, as he had seen too many talented youngsters get bogged down in their own thoughts. In situations where nothing can be done, they continue to repair their machines, ultimately failing to fix them and falling into a cycle of self-doubt, making no progress at all. So he wanted to give this outstanding young person a heads up to avoid going down a dead-end path. A skilled worker struggles without materials. What should we do if we can't dismantle anything? That is indeed a problem. The young man furrowed his brow and quickly flipped through the information that had just been imparted to him in his mind. Essential training for becoming a master mecha repair technician. Next book. 18 questions about mecha repair advice from a master mecha technician. Secrets of repair that masters will never tell you. What are these book titles? Is sensationalism also popular on this planet? Nova must have crammed all the knowledge related to mecha repair into my mind, without even a glance. Just as he was about to flip to the next book, he noticed the author of one of the books, Marta. The name Marta sounds so familiar. But where have I seen it before? The process of knowledge infusion is indeed painful, but the results are truly rewarding. The young man quickly recalled everything about Marta, the most outstanding mecha design expert, repair master, inventor, and mecha control master from his planet, with a long list of titles that dazzled him. However, what attracted him most was the title of the inventor of the second-generation mecha. The record stated, Mr. Marta creatively designed the second-generation mecha based on the advantages of the first generation, not only greatly lowering the threshold for mecha control, but also significantly shortening the time required for a mecha to form combat effectiveness. He was awarded the highest honor medal of the civilization. Since that was the case, the young man naturally no longer hesitated and immediately opened the book that had a somewhat humorous title, contrary to its name. This book could be considered an encyclopedia of second-generation mecha repair, covering everything from the principles of mechas, including mechanical structure, control systems, and power systems, to the purpose, significance, and tools used in mecha repair. It had everything one could imagine. Of course, he had already mastered this knowledge, so he quickly jumped ahead, flipping to the last section. Practical operation. It described his own experience of successfully escaping during battle, though the content mainly focused on mecha repair knowledge, while the escape process was briefly mentioned. The ups and downs of the story made the young man feel as if he were there, sweating for the master. Are you feeling troubled, young man? Seeing the young man on the opposite side with his head down and furrowed brows, Woodrow asked with some concern, am I being too much of a hindrance? Although this kid was indeed different from others, he was still a rookie who had just started learning about mecha maintenance. Brother, I got it. At that moment, Dongfeng had just finished reading the book. He raised his head, his eyes filled with excitement. Oh, what is it? Woodrow felt a surge of joy in his heart. Did this kid understand so quickly? When human effort is insufficient, knowing when to give up is crucial. Use available resources. Ensure the minimum mobility of the mecha. I'm referring to the external armor, you understand, right? Dongfeng continued to speak, but Kate heard nothing of what he said. He wanted to slap himself. Why did he have to act like a sage? Why not just say it directly? Did he really think that kind of genius thought could be the same as his own? Now he had not only failed to achieve his goal, but seemed to have led this outstanding private into a misunderstanding. No, you misunderstood. That's not what I meant. Listen to me. In his urgency, Woodrow grabbed Dongfeng, ready to explain his original intention. Just then, there was a loud clanging sound at the workshop entrance as 3 humanoid mechas were thrown down. Hey guys, get moving. A bearded man shouted, immediately jumping into the cockpit of a Hercules and charging out of the workshop. Got it, brother. You want me to practice with the mindset of a mecha maintenance master. Summarize and transform the maintenance knowledge into my own so I can keep improving and eventually reach the level of a mecha maintenance master. Alright, enough talk. I'm going to help. Seeing Dongfang leap down from the mecha like a monkey and rush to another Hercules, Woodrow let go of his outstretched hand. Forget it. There will be other opportunities. Right. We need to repair the mechas. The brothers at the front are waiting to use them. Dongfang had no idea about Woodrow's inner turmoil. He drove the Hercules and quickly approached the most damaged black mecha that had been dropped last, extending his mechanical arm. He easily grabbed the mecha, then swiftly turned around and returned to the workshop, placing the nearly shattered mecha on the support platform. The support platform automatically extended 5 huge clamps to securely hold the mecha in place. Dongfang jumped out of the engineering mecha, re-equipped with the assisting mechanical arm, and turned to survey the area. Looks like everyone is busy. I'll manage on my own. Noticing everyone else was occupied, Dongfang muttered to himself without calling out to anyone and turned to get into the mecha. Already familiar with the mecha structure, he headed straight for the head of the mecha. Dongfang, don't rush. Wait for me. Woodrow, in the midst of the chaos, saw Dongfang about to start dismantling the external armor and shouted anxiously. With a clang, as the outer armor fell, Dongfang looked up at Woodrow. Brother? What's going on? And nothing. You continue, Woodrow replied. Is this really a rookie? You're probably more skilled than I am, Woodrow muttered, lowering his head and getting back to work. Never mind. With such a genius, it's better to intervene less and see how far he can develop. Chapter 54, Breaking the Normo. Dongfang raised the auxiliary armor in his hand, realizing it was a waste of time. Alright, let's get started. Without further distraction, the mechanical arm on Dongfang's arm swung like a gust of wind, and the auxiliary armor magically detached from the mech's body, landing in Dongfang's hands before dropping to the ground with a clattering sound, like a rainstorm hitting the earth, creating a percussion symphony. However, everyone was busy with their own tasks, so no one noticed his actions. Otherwise, it would have caused quite a stir. His speed even surpassed the progress of the 2 3-member teams on the other 2 mechs. Soon, all the auxiliary armor was removed, revealing the internal structure of the mech. The damage on this mech was far worse than the one sent earlier. The mechanical arms on both sides were severed at the root, and all the mechanical structures, including universal joints, were missing. The chest had been struck directly by an energy cannon, and the internal skeleton showed signs of slight melting. The energy conduits and control cables were tangled together, making it nearly impossible to distinguish between them. The spherical cockpit was not spared either, with a huge hole penetrating through it. Dongfang understood that the operator must have perished. The lower body was in better shape. Aside from a few lacerations and the absence of auxiliary armor, the structure was mostly intact. Well, this is the visible damage for now. Dongfang nodded silently and sent the completed parts demand list through his personal terminal to Kate, who was standing in front of the smelting and forging device. Received. I'm all set to go. A few seconds later, Dongfang received a response from the veteran. It seemed that materials were sufficient, so he could consider fully restoring the mech's performance. Dongfang nodded silently again, picked up a bundle of cables, and climbed back onto the mech. In no time, sparks flew as cables and energy conduits fell in a flurry, and the chest and abdomen of the mech were quickly cleared. After 3 hours, Dongfang stopped, looking at the rejuvenated second-generation mech with satisfaction and giving a proud nod. The large hole that once pierced the cockpit had long disappeared, and the left and right arms had been replaced with freshly made new arms. Looking at the other mechs, aside from Woodrow, who was installing auxiliary armor on the first one sent, the other 2 were still busy repairing the cold fusion engines. Dongfang chuckled and climbed back onto the head of the mech, starting the installation of the auxiliary armor from scratch. Although he didn't have the assistance of his comrades, his speed remained impressive, and he completed all tasks in just half an hour. Then, he opened the cockpit door, sat in the pilot's seat, and activated the mech. With a roar, the mech stood up, taking large strides out of the workshop and into the designated parking area beside it, coming to a halt. Finally, it's fixed. The hatch opened, and Dongfang slid down the ramp with a big smile on his face. Kid, our battle has just begun, laughed the bearded man, as Hercules once again picked up a mech and turned back to the workshop. Oh no, this is going to kill me. It turned out that just moments ago, 6 severely damaged mechs had been delivered to the workshop entrance, piled up haphazardly. You're right. Our war has indeed just begun. Dongfang chuckled, once again taking control of Hercules. He immersed himself fully into the repairs. Captain, what do you want to eat for lunch? Nova, waiting outside the hatch, cheerfully grabbed Dongfang's hand. Xiaoyu. Anything is fine as long as it fills my stomach. Dongfang seemed to have completely forgotten about the morning's events and playfully squeezed Nova's delicate hand. Well, I made your favorite braised dish. Seeing Dongfang head straight to the dining hall without looking back, Nova followed closely behind. At 10 o'clock p.m., in the same location. Captain, take care of your health. Don't get too absorbed in games. Hurry up and eat. I've already prepared a late-night snack for you. Xiaoyu, I know. Dongfang replied. Let me tell you, repairing mechs is not just a simple matter of replacing parts. We must understand the root cause of the damage, and then strengthen it during repairs. This way, the performance of the repaired mech can even far exceed that of a brand new one. Oh, but I don't want to hear that. How about we talk about what you'll eat tomorrow morning instead? But you look so handsome like this, I don't want to interrupt. On the surface, it seemed Nova was nodding along, but in reality, her thoughts had already drifted far away. The next morning, Nova was waiting at the door of Dongfang's rest cabin. Captain, we have delicious spicy soup and tofu pudding for breakfast. Xiaoyu, that's great. He reached out to pat her head, and that was the end of their conversation. Private Dongfang. 10 days later, outside the workshop, all personnel from the mech repair unit stood in 2 neat rows. A middle-aged man with 2 small star-shaped shoulder patches on one shoulder stood in front of everyone. At ease, Dongfang stood tall and shouted. Although he was covered in grease, his eyes shone brightly. Step forward. He stepped up confidently, planting his feet firmly on the ground. In this great battle, Private Dongfang achieved extraordinary results in his ordinary position, independently completing the repair of 20 mechs. He accomplished 5 technical improvements in mech repairs and improved the layout of energy transport pipelines in 2 places, significantly enhancing the efficiency of mech repairs and increasing the stability and endurance of the mechs. His achievements are evident to all, and for this, the temporary military headquarters has decided to award Private Dongfang a Class 1 combat medal and promote him to the rank of corporal. At the same time, the 3rd repair unit of the mech brigade is awarded a collective 3rd-class merit. Oh, as the middle-aged major finished his last word, the comrades could no longer contain their excitement, rushing to Dongfang, lifting him up and throwing him high into the air. At this moment, Dongfang felt a darkness before his eyes. A piece of text appeared before him. The counteroffensive has achieved initial victory, and the hostile civilization has been expelled from the planet. Player, would you like to embark on the next adventure? Decline. Feeling relaxed, Dongfang was suddenly overwhelmed by fatigue and fell asleep. The space capsule automatically opened, and Nova, who already knew Dongfang had fallen asleep, gently picked him up and headed towards the captain's rest cabin. Oh dear, there will be plenty of time in the future. Why push myself so hard? Her face was filled with concern, and her arms tightened around him without any tremor. Hurry up, pass me the universal joint. In his dream, Dongfang raised his hand and murmured, Here you go. Good. Chapter 55. Practice again. Dongfang had a very good sleep this time. Although he spent the entire night in his dream repairing mechs, he still felt extremely happy, because there was no damaged mech that could challenge him, not even in his dreams. So, at 6 o'clock in the morning, he opened his eyes on time. Huh, little you, did you bring me back? Clearly remembering that he had fallen asleep in the virtual reality system's docking pod, he saw Nova sitting lively by the bed. Yes, you were too tired these days. And you fell asleep in the docking pod. So I carried you back. The word carried was spoken by Nova in a very low voice, as if she were afraid Dongfang would hear, and as soon as she finished speaking, her face turned completely red. Huh, why is little you blushing again? Did I say something? With his worries gone, Dongfang's observational skills finally returned to normal. But as a single man, and having spent so much time with Nova, how could he guess the thoughts of a young girl? Oh, thank you. Our little you really know how to care for me. Dongfang chuckled and jumped up from the bed. Little you, where are my clothes? I helped you take them off. Thank you for helping me take off my clothes. But why did you take off my underwear? Isn't that dirty? I've already washed it, don't worry. Plus, I prepared a new one for you. It's right on the bedside. Oh dear, I need to check the kanji. I hope it doesn't get burnt. Is this even about washing or not? Dongfang, hiding in the bathroom, spoke softly with a slightly flushed face. For breakfast, as Nova said, he had rice porridge. And there were also meat sandwiches, but our young lady was notably absent. So, Dongfang quickly finished his meal and got up to leave. Given the direction he was walking, it was clear he was heading back to the exclusive docking pod of the virtual reality system. Captain, I just forgot one thing. Mr. Ping Zimo sent 2 communication requests and left you a message, hoping to meet with you when you have time. In his mind, Dongfang heard the voice, but did not see the person. Really? This Maya person is quite patient. However, I have matters to attend to these days, so let's talk later. Please reply to him for me. All right. Nova's voice lowered, and Dongfang stepped into the pod, lying down in the docking pod. Once again, the familiar login screen appeared, and Dongfang found himself in the login plaza. As before, the recruitment signs of various shops flickered with their own brilliance, yet it remained empty. Sigh. Looking at the quiet and vast street before him, Dongfang felt a wave of loneliness wash over him. Back on Blue Star, he was always busy, but he could still occasionally see his parents and friends, so he never felt this way. Without any worries, seeing the tranquil square unexpectedly brought forth some reflections. It seems I need to make some friends. Once I finish being busy these few days, I should meet up with that Ping Zimo. The homesickness of young people comes quickly and goes just as fast. In the blink of an eye, Dongfang had already pushed the sadness aside and strode toward the training ground. Hey, little Dongfang, What are you here for today? Still want to dance with youth? Just as he reached the entrance, Arthur jumped out with a mischievous look, winking at Dongfang. Teacher Arthur, I really do want to dance with youth today. Dongfang bowed respectfully in response. Come on, be a bit more lively. You're only in your 20s, why act like an old man? Seeing that Dongfang remained completely unresponsive and continued to answer respectfully, Arthur shook his head and vanished, leaving only his voice lingering in the air. He's gone. More rigid than I am. You go ahead and dance with youth. I need to maintain a youthful mindset and go look at some fashion magazines to refine my taste. Can I call you an old fogey? Well, if I can't, then forget it. Who told you to be my teacher? Skillfully putting on his resistance suit and boarding the mech, the training ground once again resonated with the maddening sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Just as expected. As soon as he lifted his hand, Dongfang immediately sensed a slight delay. Having become extremely familiar with the second-generation mechs, he instantly noticed an inconsistency during the mechanical response to his command. The command transmission only took a moment, but the mechanical structure's reaction required time. Therefore, to avoid this slight discord during manual operation, Dongfang had to issue commands in advance, making good use of the time difference between electronic command transmission and mechanical response. This way, he could minimize the mechanical response time to maximize the efficiency of the mech's reactions. In simple terms, it meant breaking down each action of the mech into the smallest units that the operator could manage manually. Then, by giving the mechanical structure a response through human intervention, he could shorten the reaction time to the greatest extent. Take swinging a sword as an example. Humans can control their bodies to twist, gather strength, and swing the sword. Even if there are mistakes in the movements, it won't affect the balance, and the sword can still be swung. It's just that the force may vary. However, mechs are different. The operator must precisely control it, from turning around, swinging arms, bending elbows, to swinging arms, and so on. They must also be able to instantly judge the pulling force, torque, and internal stress that all mechanical structures can withstand in the shortest time possible to control the mech's maneuvers. If there's even a slight mistake, it could lead to the mech losing balance and falling right on the spot. This is the challenge of manual operation. It's also the main reason why there are so few S-level control masters. After all, most people lack the time and energy to familiarize themselves with mechas. It's already impressive if they can understand automatic control. Here we go again. The excited figure from the east shouted aloud and stepped down on the power pedal once more. This outfit feels great. Almost like not wearing anything at all. Yes, it should be like this. Otherwise, who would notice your beautiful figure? Alas, it's a pity that the foolish lad doesn't appreciate this beauty. In the observation room, Arthur had a long drool, his eyes sparkling, holding a magazine with a very enticing cover, occasionally wiping the corners of his mouth. His posture suggested he wished he could dive right into the magazine. Just then, the mecha in the training ground suddenly let out a roar, startling Arthur, who quickly set the magazine aside. What? Why do I feel like I'm watching a teacher train? Fluid and seamless, this mecha training is simply a delight, an ultimate enjoyment. Is this the essence of being an S-level mecha control master? Has the young man from the East truly found it? Young man from the East, have you really discovered the path to becoming a mecha control master? In his excitement, Arthur was already at a loss for words. Chapter 56, Dancing Youth. I think so, Teacher Arthur. During the jumping movements of the mecha, the figure from the east surprisingly managed to spare some effort to answer Arthur's question. Arthur was once again shocked. You can still answer me? Of course, it's not a difficult task. The tone of the figure from the east was light and cheerful, and Arthur instinctively glanced at the orange mecha in the arena. It indeed did not stop. Instead, it accelerated, with its arms and legs reduced to a blur of orange light. Its head appeared somewhat indistinct as well. Arthur understood that this was not true blurriness, but rather a display of the mecha reaching its limits. He could no longer contain his inner shock. Leaping off the sofa and pressing his face against the large floor-to-ceiling window, intently staring at the red light in the arena. Unbeknownst to him, the music for the second round of calisthenics had already finished playing, but the orange mecha did not stop. Instead, it charged toward the corner of the training ground, where countless training equipment awaited. Of course, those pieces of equipment were not usable by humans. They were specially designed for mechas, large, sturdy, and in vast numbers. The original intention behind their design was to enhance the control skills of mecha operators. For example, the balance beam trains balance ability, moving targets train dynamic design skills. And there are rings, giant sandbags, massive metal blocks, climbing nets, and so on, providing comprehensive training for the operator's driving abilities. When the figure from the east was previously learning mecha driving, Arthur had also made him train on these devices, but after successfully advancing to a B-level mecha operator, he had not used them again, mainly because, with the mecha assist mode, these trainings became too easy. The figure from the east had once thought that these devices had completed their mission and no longer needed training. But it wasn't until he grasped the essence of being a mecha master that he realized how ignorant and foolish he had been before. However, it's not too late. Before leaping onto the balance beam, the Eastern figure let out a loud shout. What? Going to the equipment area again? What for? Aren't you the teacher? Don't you understand? Nova's faint voice came from behind. Ah, how are you here? Do you know that scaring someone can be deadly? I know. But didn't you already die? Can you come back for another round? You must be sent by the heavens to play with me. Once there are new people, the old ones are forgotten. A woman can't be kept, and now your elbow has turned to lean on the Eastern figure, right? For a moment, Arthur's thoughts were racing, wondering if his decision to protect the spaceship was too hasty. Oh, the captain is amazing. His thoughts were interrupted by Nova's applause, and Arthur once again turned his gaze to the training ground. At this moment, the orange mech was on the balance beam, jumping and rolling. What Thomas spin? Whirlwind axe maneuver, low sweeping lunge, shifting steps, fishing in water, all of it was effortlessly executed by the Eastern figure, even better than on solid ground. They say outsiders watch the excitement while insiders understand the intricacies. Arthur, being an insider, naturally saw the skill involved. The Eastern figure's performance was clearly at the level of an S-rank mech control master, and not just at the beginner stage of S-rank. He knew that the Eastern figure had firmly established himself in the mid-tier of S-rank controllers. How can a genius be described? Arthur was left with just one word in his heart. Monster. Monster. You monster. The captain is so impressive. I like him so much. This is what a man should be like, unlike some people who just know how to sneak a peek at magazines, with no ambition at all. Can we avoid personal attacks? After all, I was your previous captain. Oh, in the cockpit, the Eastern figure wore a faint smile, but his gaze was exceptionally cold. His fingers flew across the control panel, creating trails of afterimages, where there was barely a trace of his hands, leaving only two white lights. Just now, during that Thomas Grand loop, there was a mistake when his palms supported the beam. His coordination was off by 0.1 seconds, and the mech almost lost balance. It seems my analysis of force is still lacking. I need to keep improving. Let us try again. This time, the Eastern figure's hands moved faster, and the afterimages vanished, leaving behind two hands that seemed to teleport, suddenly appearing in front, and the next moment at the other end, completely breaking the laws of physics. Nice. Achieved the intended purpose. Let us move on to the next equipment. With a thought, the mech vanished from the balance beam, rushing like a whirlwind to the rings. Upon reaching the rings, it performed a static support. The mech's arms stretched straight, using its strength to suspend itself in midair, motionless. Then came the reverse flying bird. Arms pushing down, the mech's feet pointed to the sky. Is this a mech? Is this still human? Alas, I'm not cultured enough to express it. Just a simple I'm awesome. Arthur pressed his face against the glass, turning himself into a pig's nose. OH, Nova exclaimed. Ah, amidst Nova's exclamations, the mech completed the handstand. Next, it should be the big loop, right? Arthur sighed, changing his position, as the oil on his face had smudged the glass, making his vision a bit blurry. Will the captain fall down? Nova crossed her arms, looking like a frightened little girl. Even if I fall from here, that guy won't fall. Don't talk, just watch closely. Nova raised her little fist behind him and gestured, but ultimately didn't bring it down. Forget it. I'll give you some face, humph. Sure enough, at the moment Arthur finished speaking, the orange mech on the ring stirred up a whirlwind, with a whooshing sound echoing through the training ground. Good. This is what I wanted. Dongfang grinned and stopped his movements. The mech, lacking power support, slowed down and gradually came to a stop. Letting go, it gently landed, making not even a sound. Next item, juggling. What is it like to watch a mech perform juggling? Dongfang will show you today. Just as Dongfang threw the first dumbbell, he suddenly recalled a joke he had seen on the Blue Star Network. Of course, he couldn't see it, but Arthur and Nova could see it very clearly. 3 dumbbells, each about 2 meters in size and weighing over 2 tons, floated like feathers, dancing in the mech's hands, producing a series of whistling sounds. I believe even a clown would play like this. Dongfang's thoughts suddenly returned to his childhood, sitting in the audience watching the group performance. Youth, huh? Yes. The vibrant youth. Chapter 57 Meeting Dongfang. It turns out you really did it. Arthur appeared once again in the changing room, as he couldn't wait any longer. Yes, teacher. Dongfang looked a bit helpless, watching Arthur leaning against the partition wall in the changing room. It seems I was indeed right. Only by familiarizing oneself with everything about mechs can one step into the realm of S-class mech control masters. No wonder, no wonder. If only I had listened to the teacher back then. Arthur remained still against the wall, his gaze unfocused, recalling his own teacher. Arthur, don't be lazy. With your talent, reaching my level is only a matter of time. The spaceships and mansions you have are just external possessions. Only when you become strong can you seize opportunities in adversity and rise again. He remembered the last time he saw his teacher. Unfortunately, the proud Arthur could never take it to heart. after dealing with his severely injured teacher. He quickly cast aside his heartfelt words and went off to have fun with the girls. Now thinking back, he regretted it. In fact, Arthur's full name should be Austin Arthur, with Austin being his surname and Arthur being his given name. If a member of the Earth Ring were present at that moment, hearing Arthur's full name would surely reveal an expression of immense shock. Because Austin was no longer just a surname, it had become synonymous with wealth, technology, life, and a beautiful life. Everyone in the Earth Ring civilization sees joining the Austin family business as a lifelong goal. As long as one can join any company under the Austin name, it's almost like entering paradise, with high salaries, housing, and genetic treatments readily available. Not to mention those with the surname Austin, who are like super lucky individuals born with a diamond key. Our Arthur is one such lucky person. He is not just an ordinary family member, but the third legitimate son of the Austin family. What others dream of is easily within his grasp, and he even discards it like worthless trash. Take mecha piloting, for example. Arthur's teacher is an S-Class mecha control master. Under the Master's guidance, his skills improved rapidly. By the age of 10, Arthur had already firmly entered the ranks of A-Class pilots. But how could a flamboyant young master like him be bothered with being a mecha repair technician? Isn't it more enjoyable to hang out with the ladies than to be in a workshop? So, until he escaped the Earth Ring and ultimately found himself in a corner of the Blue Star, he never got close to becoming an S-Class mecha master. Teacher? Are you not going to take a break for a while? Dongfang, having removed his pressure suit, saw Arthur still leaning against the wall and couldn't help but laugh. Well, it's comfortable like this. I don't exercise much, so I have to use this method to stretch my muscles. As long as I'm not embarrassed. It's you who should be embarrassed. Arthur, unfazed, held on tightly. All right, you continue practicing. I'll go take a break. Go ahead, go ahead. Young people should balance work and rest. You can't wear yourself out. You're the teacher. You're in charge. Dongfang disappeared on the spot, logging off. After exiting the cabin, Dongfang headed straight for the dining hall. He hadn't eaten all day and was already starving. What else shall you up to? Why haven't I seen him around these days? Looking at the table full of sumptuous dinner, Dongfang, the ironclad man, was puzzled for less than a second before devouring the food with grease all over his mouth. Not bad, not bad. It seems Xiao Yu's cooking skills have surpassed the master. Dongfang took a big bite of the braised pork, his face full of satisfaction. Captain, there is a communication request coming in. Would you like to answer it? Just then, the spaceship's mainframe voice sounded a bit monotonous. Who is it? Could it be that Meyer again? It's a Mr. Ping Zimo. As expected, let him in. Mr. Dongfang, I didn't expect you to be dining. I'm being rude, please forgive me. Upon seeing the scene before him, Ping Zimo immediately clasped his fists and bowed. Feeling slightly awkward and wanting to end the communication quickly. Mr. Ping, no need for formalities, just tell me what's on your mind. I apologize for any rudeness. I'll get straight to it. I would like to meet with you in person if you have time tomorrow. No problem, just tell me the location. And we'll meet tomorrow. Mr. Dongfang is indeed straightforward. Then, I'll be waiting for you at King Restaurant at 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. I'll take my leave first. Ping Zmo bowed respectfully, and his figure faded away. At 8:40 a.m., in front of the King Restaurant in the bustling commercial capital of Polite Star, the scene was as busy as usual, with flying vehicles constantly taking off and landing. Groups of elegantly dressed blue-skinned individuals descended from their vehicles, guided by the staff into the restaurant. Despite the crowd, there was no loud noise at the entrance, as if the blue-skinned guests were deliberately keeping their voices low. At that moment, a blue-painted flying vehicle landed on the helipad. 3 intelligent beings, similarly adorned and resembling the blue-skinned folk, stepped down, and a restaurant staff member immediately approached the vehicle to guide them. Gentlemen, this way please. Although their appearance differed greatly from that of the staff, anyone dining at this restaurant was either wealthy or of high status, so there was no room for any negligence. No need. We're fine here. After all, we have esteemed guests arriving. The leader smiled and spoke kindly, displaying a warm and refined demeanor even towards a service staff member. It was naturally Ping Zmo, who had invited the meeting with the Eastern guests. If it were anyone else, one might simply shrug it off. Captain, do you think this person is polite and courteous to everyone? In the cloud layer above the hotel, Nova finally sat down with the Eastern guests. Who knows? Perhaps he is just that kind of person, or maybe he hides his true self very well. Anyway, we're just meeting him for a meal. Let us see what he has to say. If anything feels off, we can just leave. Seeing that Ping Zmo was indeed waiting at the helipad, Dongfang waved his hand, and the two got into the red flying vehicle they had acquired on the black market and headed toward the helipad. Mr. Dongfang, Mrs. Gong, greetings. As soon as they got off the vehicle, Ping Zmo approached them, hands clasped in front of his chest in greeting. Thank you for waiting. Not at all. I just arrived a short while ago. Please, esteemed couple, I have reserved a table for us. Let us eat and talk. After you. Dongfang chuckled softly. gently taking Nova's hand, and followed the staff into the restaurant.